Hello everyone. Welcome to today's video on the astrology of November. Today we're going through the forecast for November of 2024 for all signs of the zodiac from Aries all the way through Pisces. Now, one thing to know is that I'm doing this one live, which means if you're jumping on the live, then you'll be with me doing it. And if you're watching the replay, just keep in mind, I don't know how fast I'll be able to do timestamps, but I am going to use little banners that say the name of the sign for whatever sign I'm on. And then you'll be able to see whatever banner, so you can see it on the screen, the name of the sign, so you can still start watching for your sun, moon, and rising. If you are seeing this live part of the way through, or if you are seeing it after the fact, there's nothing you're going to miss if you are seeing the live afterwards. To be honest, the reason I'm trying this, I'm testing it live to see if it gets more views, because sometimes my live videos do better. So we'll just see how that goes. Anyway, welcome back to the channel for anyone who's new. I am Cassandra. You are on, this is Saffron Sage Astrology, and a couple quick announcements and we'll get right into the forecast. The first announcement is that I have a new offering. This is a temporary video that will expire, and it's on your 12th house and your shadow. So if you want to know about your 12th house and you want a little mini video from me, click the link below and you can get yours. And just shoot, I don't have the link yet. Hold on. I'm just going to do this now. So if you're watching the replay, skip ahead 1 minute. Okay, so I'm posting this in the chat for anyone who's here live and wants it. But it'll be in the description and in the comments as well. So we're going to go through each sign of the zodiac and talk about what November has in store for you. I'm making this at the end of October. If you're watching this today, you can also, after this, go back and watch October for your sun, moon, and rising and see how what the rest of October has in store for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Aries. For Aries for November, on November 1st, we have a new moon in Scorpio in your 8th house. That's your 8th house of taxes, other people's money, shared resources. Keep in mind that a new moon isn't like every year something crazy and amazing happens in that area of life. But what might be sort of seeds that you might be beginning to plant on this new moon would be paying off debt, maybe getting yourself in situations where you are sharing resources with other people in ways that you know would be beneficial. Maybe some Aries are going to start having roommates, or maybe some Aries are going to share in other ways or increase their level of intimacy with other people. If you're someone who likes to set intentions on the new moon, this one would be good for deepening connections with people, things that require trust, or even resolving trust issues, and kind of taking care of other people, because that new moon is also going to make a sign-based aspect to Mars and Cancer. And so it's like, how are you protecting your assets? How are you protecting yourself and others? And for some, it might be getting into areas where it's like there's risk or there's investing or something, taking care of your retirement, taking care of your insurance, making sure everything's good like that. But it might also just be trust and intimacy. On November 2nd, Mercury enters Sagittarius. That's your 9th house. So Mercury in Sag for Aries is going to be probably a time where you can teach or learn something. A lot of time, Mercury in the 9th house is like the love of learning, the love of knowledge, the love of metaphysical information. It's in the 9th house of far off places. So it's kind of like your connection to spirituality, your connection to God, your connection to a higher power is coming to you through the words of other people. Right? So that's kind of my take on that. Now, for some of you who do other 9th house stuff, if you're going to college right now, if you are in a lawsuit right now, if you work in the law, if you're an astrologer, or if you're taking a course on like some spiritual topic, it's probably that. It's probably just the back and forth, or the going back and forth to learn this and learn that and learn this and learn that. It's like multitasking your learning, multitasking your higher education. So that is what I expect to see shift for Aries on the 2nd of November. Okay, so going on to the 4th of November, Mars enters Leo. This is important for everyone because Mars will retrograde in Leo, and we've got a long transit of Mars being in Leo and Cancer, but it's super, super important for Aries. Okay, so pay attention to what happens on November 4th for Aries in your 5th house of self-employment, kids, creativity, self-expression, fun, pleasure, dating, romance, sex, gambling. So, did I say self-employment? So pay attention to anything that starts, it gets more difficult, has more activity around it related to those topics. Pay attention to any, it could be problems because it's Mars, but sometimes Mars will bring a sort of like a fervor, it'll bring like a rush of energy toward that thing or desire to initiate that area of life. You're busier in that area, right? So if you have kids, maybe you're busier helping them or dealing with them, parenting them. It could be good or bad, right? It could be some great thing like they have soccer tournaments and you're going to them, right? So it doesn't always have to be bad, but Mars does tend to bring activity to a house, and you are Mars because you're an Aries rising. So your life might take on more 5th house themes, again, which is like pleasure, creativity, self-expression. You might really feel that need to create, or to share your creations, or to be seen, or to put on your favorite clothes and go out and do something, So it could show up in multiple ways, right? It's a general reading. Okay, but also Mars does rule your 8th house. It's in the 5th house. So it might be something too related to your partner's money, especially those of you who are married or in a long-term relationship. If you are not, it could still be the money of someone you are dating, but usually it's more like, it's not usually that. Okay, going on to the next big event I've identified for November for Aries. We have Venus entering Capricorn in your 10th house on November 11th. So Venus in the 10th house can bring joy, ease, or pleasure to your work, to your workplace. And it can be in the smallest of ways because Venus is so central, especially when she's in like an earth sign, right? So it's like you have your favorite music on during that time at work. Or, I don't know, the temperature is just perfect. Or like, I don't know, the boss brings snacks. Or something else that brings a bit of ease and flow and like maybe even enjoyment or pleasure to the workplace could be happening for Aries on the 10th, around the 11th, of November. So because Venus rules your 2nd and 7th house, this one's also a bigger transit for you because it's like your money and the people you're with. Now, some of you, if you're married, right? Maybe it might be your partner who is working more and they're in the public eye, or they're being recognized more for what they're doing. For others of you, you might actually be either investing money into your work or doing something in your work that's more like related to pushing something to sell, or like the money, dealing with the money side of it. All right. On the 15th, the full moon in Taurus is happening in your 2nd house. Now, this is not, don't think like, because people say new moons are new beginnings and full moons are like releases. Don't think that like you're going to lose money. It's not like that. The full moon in the 2nd house can actually be a time where you are more, there's a culmination, so you can make more money. You could actually have money come to you, make more money from something, especially something that has been building up, and like this is when it comes into your account or something like that. So that full moon in Taurus on the 15th, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to get famous and rich or something, but it does feel like there could be an increase of money, or a certain project you have at work where you're getting overtime might come to its culmination. It might be at its biggest, fullest point. That's what the full moon means, that things are at their fullest point. Okay, so on the 19th for Aries, Pluto will enter Aquarius in your 11th house for good, November 19th. If you guys want a separate video on that, let me know in the comments. We could do that. We could do Pluto in Aquarius for all the signs, like what it means going forward. But Pluto entering the 11th house is really going to just take the pressure off of your 10th house. So congratulations, Aries. You have made it through the last many years cycle of becoming more authentic in your work, of needing to step into your most powerful, most authentic role in your work. That's what I see Pluto doing. And remember, remember that Pluto entering a house isn't going to affect everyone the same way. And it may not even be that noticeable. But what it can do is sort of bring some pressure, bring some slow changes to your friend group. And it might kind of slowly but surely encourage you to let go of or purge friends or groups of people who you no longer feel in alignment with. And it may, over the long haul, the next 20 years, I don't want to say help you because that makes it sound way too like easy and fun, but it might pressure you. You know, Pluto might put some pressure on you in the next 20 years to be living your most authentic life when it comes to your friends, the groups you belong in, the people you spend time with, who you associate with. So if there are problems in that area of life, then Pluto's transit through the 11th may bring up and reveal those problems to you. So if there are no problems, then, and Pluto's not aspecting anything, then that might not be the biggest deal. Okay, going on to the 21st, when the sun enters Sagittarius, that's going to be your 9th house. So now we're going to have the ruler of the fun house in the 9th house. So this could be a time for Aries around the 21st where you're enjoying learning, you're enjoying studying, you're enjoying like going to the next level, you're enjoying maybe something that you are focusing on doing. This is a good time for Aries. If you're an Aries out there who feels like you don't know your next steps, or you're trying to connect with your purpose or anything like that, the 21st of November is a good time to focus on it, to focus on your bigger mission. You know, I think of the 9th house, it's like the quest. So what is your current quest in life? It might not be the day that you take the next step. Matter of fact, it probably won't be, because Mercury is going to go retrograde right after that. For Aries, the 21st, when the sun enters Sag, is going to be identifying the mission, identifying the next quest, and figuring out what it is and getting clarity on what that is. Okay, so for the 26th of November for Aries, we have Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius in your 9th house. Okay, so Mercury comes in, Mercury's already there, but it's going to go retrograde, and that's going to be a time where you're maybe figuring out the plan. Maybe that sun entering Sagittarius for Aries is going to put the real focus in terms of your life direction and what you're doing with your life and what your next steps are and what you feel like you need to accomplish. That sun going into Sagittarius, into that 9th house of like, let's do this bigger, let's get more meaning out of this, what would be the most meaningful? And then Mercury going retrograde might be a time where you are either questioning like, is the path I'm on really the most meaningful? Or you're focusing on more meaning by like learning and getting new books, or going back and rereading a spiritual book that brought you a lot of insight and clarity and like warmth to your soul. So, or something along those lines, right? Like going back through spiritual material, going back through meaningful material, going back through if you're a lawyer, when you know, what you needed to know to pass the bar exam, going back through and rereading or revising or editing something for publishing, if you're someone who wants to publish something. So that's what I see for that November 26 transit for Aries in your 9th house. So overall for Aries, we have new beginnings with shared resources and a culmination with your own resources. Now, the 2nd house, so that full moon, you know, just zooming out to talk about just the whole energy of November, especially the first half of November, is like, where do I need to share more? And where do I have enough of what I want? Like, where are my ideas like significant? Where are my beliefs significant? Where am I focusing in on what I want? And maybe for Aries, there's a bit of a shift here where it's like you're at this point in the cycle where the ideas that you've come to on your own it's like you've gotten as far as you can on your own with your current ideas, your current mindset, your current knowledge base. And perhaps November is the time to begin exploring what would be the next step to learn more, to know more, to understand more, especially when it comes to faith, the universe, and just those things that matter to you. So that's what I have for Aries for November. We're going to move on to Taurus now. For those of you who are live, feel free to chat your sign in the comments and know you can watch your sun, moon, and rising. I always love hearing from you guys when I'm on here. And we're going to go into Taurus for November, and we're going to go through the key dates for this month and go over what they mean for you in your life. So starting with the very 1st of November, we have a new moon in Scorpio. For Taurus, this is in the 7th house. So this is planting seeds related to others. Now, if you are already in a relationship and you're happy in the relationship, this new moon doesn't bring changes to that. It might be, sometimes the 7th house is the other people you meet along your path. If you're single and your relationships aren't really on the radar, this might be planting seeds for the other people you want who as best friends. If you're single and you want a relationship, or you're dating and you want to move it to the next level, this might be you planting seeds for what you want to see with that. But either way, usually the new moon isn't always they say it's a new beginning, but it's really like the quiet space. It's the space between the last thing that happened and the next thing that will happen. So there might be a quieting down of relationships. There might be a little bit less focus, a less outward focus on who you're with at this time. This area of life, think of relationships and the wave already came crashing down and now it's just rolling back out to sea. So there might be some contemplation about relationships at this time. That your relationship again might just get quieter. There isn't a lot going on, and that's fine. That's peace. Okay, going on to the next day. On November 2nd, Mercury enters Sagittarius. Taurus, that's your 8th house of sex, death, and other people's money. And Mercury rules your 2nd and your 5th house, so it rules your money. So your money planet in the house of other people's money, it could be some of you Tauruses are I want to give someone a loan. I want to help someone out. Maybe you have a desire to share what you have with others, or you give them a piece of furniture or something, right? Because the 2nd house is everything you own. You might cook food for some people. It's sharing, so you might just be sharing your resources with other people on a broader level. This might be a time where you're putting focus and attention on, if you're a Taurus who has investments and things like that, investments or retirement accounts or other things where there's interest involved or there's a risk involved, it might just be focusing on that and then going back over it later when Mercury goes retrograde. So I would pay attention, Taurus, to what's happening on the 2nd when it comes to your money, because you're probably going to revisit that around the 26th when Mercury goes retrograde. I'm not giving you advice as far as how to manage your finances and stuff. Okay, disclaimer. All right, so on the 4th, Mars enters Leo in your 4th house. Mars rules your 12th and 7th house. So on November 4th, there might be more activity and action and things happening when it comes to your home. You could be moving furniture, you could be getting weights and lifting weights at home or doing some kind of exercise routine at your home. Mars in the fourth literally makes you busier at home. So it might be a renovation project, you might be fixing your pool, you might be doing something else. Where I'm in Vegas where everyone has a pool. So if you don't have a pool, I'm not judging you. Okay. So what was I even saying? Oh, on the 4th of November, Taurus has action and activity coming to your home life. Now, because Mars rules your Mars rules your 7th house. What comes up in the next few months as Mars enters Leo, goes retrograde, goes back into Cancer, this is really going to affect Taurus, your relationships. So if you're currently in a relationship, there might be some focus on home, like your partner's moving in with you, you guys are getting a new bed, anything like that brings focus and activity to the home. You might have a dinner party. It might be something nice. But also, if there are challenges, then pay attention to that, because we're going to see more on that next month in December and January and February. So, okay, moving on for Taurus to the 11th when Venus enters Capricorn. This is your 9th house. Venus in the 9th is a wonderful time to learn and study astrology and study metaphysics and read all the spiritual books and do all the spiritual things, because when Venus is there, it creates the ability to enjoy that area of life more. So finding the best book and just loving reading every minute of it, or even finding the best YouTube channel on astrology or on some other metaphysical or spiritual topic, or even meeting a foreigner and talking another language and just loving every minute of it. So you can just love and really enjoy and get a lot out of 9th house activities, which is like learning about the world, learning about other cultures, speaking other languages, studying something, having a university class. If you're in college, maybe you have a super hot professor or you have a professor that you just love, like not in a sexual way, but you just enjoy and kind of almost like swoon for their knowledge in a way, So Venus in the 9th is a good time. So for Taurus, that's 11th of November on for the rest of November to enjoy learning, to enjoy books, to enjoy a trip somewhere and really just get a lot out of it, because Venus rules you in your sixth house, but it rules you. So like when Venus is in the 9th, it's like you are going on this quest to understand the nature of things, or like you are like going to the depths of like it's almost like you learn this history that you just love. You learn ancient history and you love it, or you learn I don't know, anything you love that's like about other cultures or far off places, far off things that are outside of your local neighborhood or your current level of understanding. That could be anything. So really wonderful time from the 11th of November forward for the rest of November for Tauruses to just love learning and get into and enjoy the benefits of Venus, like something lovely that you get to learn or know or believe in, some kind of beautiful new meditation or something that makes you feel more connected to God or to the universe. Okay, so going on to the 15th of November. The full moon in Taurus is in your first house. So this is like a culmination of a culmination of your life up until this point. A full moon is not an ending. It's like when the wave is at its biggest point. So during the full moon on the 15th, you just might have a lot going on. You might be busy, you might be finishing up a major project in your life, and that is right on schedule with that full moon. And don't think that just because I feel like there's so much bad astrology out there, Taurus, don't think that a new moon in the 7th house, full moon in the 1st house means that you have to give up yourself for other people. It's just new seeds being planted in relationship and finishing up of things that are like one-on-one or individual or, things like that. Okay, so going on to the 19th. For the 19th of November, Taurus has Pluto entering Aquarius in your 10th house. Get ready, Taurus, to get real with yourself about how you feel about your job. If you don't like your job or you don't like what you're doing in your work, Pluto entering the 10th house, you've already gotten some foreshadowing of this. That feeling isn't going away. It's going to get bigger. Now, for those of you who are like, no, my work is aligned. I'm good with my role in life. It's fine. It's on track. Cool. But if it doesn't feel on track, Pluto will slowly but surely pressure you to feel that. Okay? So to the degree that Pluto is going to affect you, Taurus, during this next 20 years, is to the degree that you hate your job and you know it's not right for you. Pluto will make it so you can no longer ignore that feeling. It doesn't grant you a new position immediately. Okay, but it does promise that you cannot ignore problems with your role in life and your role in the world and in ways and areas that you feel, if you feel like you are not living up to your potential. Pluto's going to make that very well known to you. And what you do with that is going to still be up to you. Okay, don't be scared. Don't be scared of Pluto. It's a 20-year transit and you really don't always feel it unless it is aspecting a personal planet. So I have this, this is something that clients really, I have to teach them. Like, Pluto just entering your 10th isn't going to kill you. And Pluto doesn't usually kill you anyway. That's usually Saturn. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. On the 21st, let's talk about something good, Taurus. The sun enters Sagittarius in your 8th house. So again, this is another indication that this month Taurus is maybe shifting their focus from self to others. From this is what I have and what I own to what about what you have? Is it your money or mine? Is it your place or our place? Is it, your job or is it our shared business that we're going into business together about? Is it, lots of questions or lots of focus on things that are going to be yours versus others. And the sun in the 8th might also shine a light on the people you know the most deeply, especially because for you, the sun rules your 4th house. So some Tauruses during this time might feel like they are getting more, let's say, to know someone, right? Like you might just be getting to know someone more deeply and more intimately, because that sun ruling the 4th, sun in the 8th, these are both placements where you can see people's souls. Like when someone has this in a natal chart. So in transit, it's like maybe you're having more connected conversations that are soul-centered and heart-centered and about how people feel. And they're like, you're just getting into deeper conversations about that. Maybe there's some focus on privacy or private conversations, or you're lifting someone up or you're cheering them up. Sometimes 8th house stuff is stuff other people bring to you. So maybe during this time, Taurus, you might have a friend or a lover or a loved one or a family member cheering you up. Maybe your cousin comes to visit. Your cousin is just sunny, has a sunny disposition, and you just have a little bit more light in your life during this time. I think this is probably going to, it shines a light on 8th house things. So what 8th house things is going to depend on whether you have debt, whether you're investing, whether you're taking out loans, or whether you're just in deep relationships with other people. Okay, so on the 26th, Mercury will retrograde in Sagittarius. That's your 8th house. So it's almost as if around the 21st, Taurus are setting their sights on how they want to be intimate with people, or how they want to connect with others, or what they are wanting when it comes to their close relationships. And then it's almost as if on the 26th, Mercury goes retrograde and we're like, okay, this is going to go we need to replan something here. We need to replan our investments because we just analyzed the data and found that we're losing money. Or we need to replan how our joint bank account is if Tauruses are coupled, because we're losing all this money that you're spending here, I'm spending here, and it's not working. Or we need to revise or somehow redo or go over or plan or figure out how you're going to how you're going to get what you want in 8th house topics. I guess for some, this could be more psychic work and stuff like that. But it could also be, for a lot of Taurus, it's going to be just going over money and finances and stuff. And like, where did we lose money? Where do we owe money? How can we consolidate our debt? That kind of stuff. Okay, so overall for Tauruses, November 2024, there is a shift from self to others. This doesn't feel like you've been so self-oriented, you need to change. And it feels more like maybe now that I have my things taken care of, I can focus more on what other people have or how I can share and give to others. Or maybe it's like, in order to get what I need and to get what I want, I'm going to have a roommate, or I'm going to have to share my resources in this certain way. So that is what I see for Tauruses. And that's kind of the overall. Remember, you can watch your sun, moon, and rising. I want to check the comments, and then we'll get back to Geminis. Yes. Hello, everyone. Kalasha's here. Virgo rising, Pisces sun and moon. Oh, we're so similar. I have Virgo rising and Pisces moon. Mangarzata. Okay, saying no pool. Yeah, okay. I grew up in Washington, so people didn't really have pools there. I remember we lived in one apartment complex that had a pool, but like, that's rare. Like, I think that even the pool that was in the town shut down. Like, there's no pools. But like, once I went to Phoenix and Vegas, everyone has a pool because it's unbearable. Okay, David says, good saffron, very good. Great. Thank you. Hello, David. And okay, so we're going to go on now to Geminis for November 2024. Hello, Geminis. All right, so for November of 2024, the first thing we have for you, the new moon in Scorpio on November 1st is happening in your 6th house. So you might be planting seeds at this time for what you want to happen with your work or how you want to be spending your time. Remember, the new moon is like not usually the day of the new beginning. Usually it's the sort of like the breath before the phrase. It's the quiet moment before the action happens. So you might just be focusing on what you want to see in this next cycle related to your 6th house of work, how you spend your time. Sometimes the 6th house is literally solving problems. So a new cycle of how you solve problems, it depends on what kind of 6th house stuff you do. So that would be like if you have supplements, how you get your supplements, or a new beginning in how you take care of your body or have your workout routine or your health, or a new beginning related to your work schedule or how you spend your time. So going on to the next day, Mercury enters Sagittarius. Pay attention, Gemini, to what starts or what begins in conversations and relationships on the 2nd of November. There is something significant here that is foreshadowed that we will come back to at the end of the month because Mercury is going to go retrograde. So this might be you just having conversations with people, right? Mercury coming into the 7th can bring more activity and more conversations with others. This might be a significant other. If you are married, it's your significant other. If you are not married, it is going to be people. It's people. It's the other significant people in your life, the important ones. You're going to be having talks with them, the best friends and things. So it could also be, sometimes that 7th house will be professionals that like your therapist or your lawyer or someone. Maybe someone will start going to a professional at that point. But for most of you, you're just going to be talking to more people. Maybe you're doing more marketing, or you're talking to more clients, or you're having more conversations about a potential thing you're about to start. Or maybe something related to your house. Maybe you're hiring a mechanic, or not mechanic. Mechanic is for the car. maybe someone to fix your shower or your drains or your plumbing or your sinks or something, or something else like electric, just anything in the house. That's not going to be everyone, but overall, the second will be you'll be chatty. You'll be chatting with other people, chattier than you normally are, Gemini. I know you guys can talk to anyone about anything. All right, so then on November 4th for Geminis, Mars will enter Leo. That's going to be in your third house. Pay attention to what happens on this day because Mars is going to go retrograde later, and you're going to, this will be a foreshadowing of probably some things that might happen. But it will happen for a few months. So it's like whatever we're dealing with on the 4th might be, significant. Okay. So Mars rules your 11th house. So it might be having conversations with friends. It might have to do with driving. It might have to do with your car or your transportation. For Geminis, you might just have more, I feel like you're going to be busy. So when Mars goes into the third house, it brings more activity to third house topics. So oftentimes that's like running errands, going to the store, stopping by places on your way after work. You might just have more going on. Like you have to go to the post office and then wash your car and then, go, like that kind of being busy, just having shit to do all the time. It's not always bad. Or you might be busy doing fun stuff. Like you might be busy taking your kids to soccer practice, or you might be busy going and seeing sites in your local area that you just normally don't go see, or just it's a season of you doing stuff more, right? Maybe it's a certain sports season that you're into or something. Okay, so then the next thing is on the 11th. But keep in mind also, Gemini, actually on the 4th of November, especially if you have siblings who are super significant or aunts, uncles, or cousins who are significant in your life, keep an eye on them. But also keep an eye on what happens with them. If it's not it's not like when Mars enters the third house, you have to get in a fight with your sibling. But if you're going to, it would be during that transit because it will make kind of people fight with you a little bit more. It'll make even in your the grocery store you go to, some people might be fighting with each other, and it might not be you who's fighting, but sometimes people will be more a pain in your ass, they'll be jerks. That can happen. People can just be, and it's not like everywhere, but the third house does rule your local environment. So now this could be you going to watch a fighting in your local environment. You going to watch, going to shoot or do something really Martian. I feel like most people who follow me are not going to go shooting, but you never know. And if you are a Gemini and you're planning on going shooting on November 4th, you need to tell me in the comments because sometimes I think of these things and I'm like, that's so random, but maybe it's right on point for some of you. Okay, so if you're a Gemini who does not own a gun, ignore that. But maybe there'll be more topics related to Mars. Maybe you get a new knife set or something. I don't know. Going on to the next transit, which is the next major one, the 11th of November, Venus will enter Capricorn. That's your 8th house. There is more potential during Venus in the 8th to get other people's money, Gemini. So I'm not saying you should hold your breath because this transit could come and go and you might not. It might not show up like that. But it does feel like either other people's money or intimacy could be more enjoyable during this time. The intimacy would be more likely if you already are in a long-term relationship. And it could be that your partner is giving you something, right? You could be getting a gift of anything from a lover or from a very close, very, very close friend. Or it's just that your experiences with other people, the ones you know really well, flow better, they go better, they are just feeling good during this time. And Venus also rules your 6th house. So I do feel like for Geminis who are looking for fun in the bedroom, I do think that could be a possibility. So don't sleep on that transit. Okay, going on to the 15th. full moon in Taurus in your 12th house. So this is a culmination where maybe you've reached a certain level with, if you've done any kind of therapy, if you've done any kind of spiritual shadow work, if you have been really focusing on connecting with God or with spirit or with the invisible, unseen aspect of spirituality, like the spirit guides, prayer, meditation, things that we do in isolation, which depends on what you do in isolation. Like if you're writing by yourself or you're working on projects or work by yourself, at this point on the 15th of November, Geminis might find that you've reached a stage in completion. Maybe you've finished the first draft of that book or the first whatever of a marketing plan or whatever else you're doing. And it doesn't mean it's necessarily over, but it's like reaching its fullest point. So on the 15th or around then of November, Geminis might just be doing big meditation, like a 3-day meditation or a fast or something else that kind of takes you out of your day-to-day activities and puts you in a 12th house place. And 12th house places are usually not good. But here's the best possible ones. I'll tell you the best possible ones and the worst possible ones. I know not all of you are going to jail. Jail is a 12th house place. Now, if you work in a jail or a prison or a hospital or places people go to be isolated or to recover, well, this could be you working more because that would be your work. For everyone else, you're probably either going to be at home more during this time, you're going to be resting, you're going to be recovering, you're going to be taking time out, you're going to be in some kind of like, I don't know, getting like some kind of a treatment for something, or maybe in a lot of 12-step meetings, or meeting with your therapist for a lot, or going to a retreat or an ashram or a monastery or a place that people go to get quiet and meditate, or nature even. So that 12th house full moon is like the end of the culmination or the high point of a cycle of getting quiet. So you might actually be, if you've been meditating or you've been doing a lot of 12th house stuff, like looking at your shadow or working with a therapist, and this is not advice in any way, or you have been doing things that help you see your self-sabotage and try to fix them and bring them to light, or you've been doing certain meditations or doing other kind of spiritual work that is, or self-development work that is like you getting quiet and getting away from it all, but for the purpose of seeing the things about yourself that you don't normally see. This would be a time maybe you really see some of the results of this work, and maybe you like see that it's working and that you're see the value that it's bringing to your life, to be able to, maybe you catch yourself on the 15th right before a big self-sabotage, but you're able to see it now. So those are some ways that full moon in Taurus could be showing up for Geminis on the 15th of November. Moving on to the 19th, we have Pluto entering Aquarius. This is your 9th house. This is not your first rodeo with this placement. It's been happening off and on the last couple of years, but this is when it moves into Aquarius for good. Pluto going into your 9th house may bring a bit of a feeling of like wanting to connect more with your spirituality, wanting to get more clear or get more like go deeper into what you believe and focus on beliefs and focus on like like what you believe and what else? It's beliefs. It's the 9th house. It's beliefs. It's you focusing on deepening your spiritual path, deepening your beliefs, deepening your connection to spirit, to higher power, getting into a belief system or connecting with a group that can take you further on that path. And that's going to be the next 20 years, Gemini. So it's 20 years of you being on the quest and really going over what is meaningful. And so I think that might be a nice one. I do. Now, Pluto doesn't get you bad unless it's, hitting something in your chart. And even then, it's honestly, it just depends. So don't get all scared just because Pluto's going into a new house. Okay, on the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius in your 7th house, Gemini. That is going to be your, let me think. Okay, Sun and Sag in the 7th is like shining the light on relationships. Who are you with? Who are you connected to? Who are you talking to, right? Because the Sun rules your 3rd house. So the way this shows up is going to depend for everyone. If you've been working on writing things lately, and that's been a big topic, a big, very important topic for you, then maybe you give your rough draft to someone to edit. You could be writing poetry for your lover. You could be sending messages and talking to someone. You're going to be focusing on the other people in your life around the 21st. And you might be setting your sights in a way, even if you're in a relationship, whether either way, single or in a relationship, you might be setting your sights on connecting who you want to connect with. Who do you want your people to be? Your close people. Who do you want and what do you want in your relationship? And you might just be focusing on that. Like, what do you want? And then on the 26th, Mercury goes retrograde in that same house where you're like, okay, now I know what I want. What's the actual plan and what needs to be changed to get it? So this will be different for everyone. But for a lot of you Geminis, it's like, how do I need to change my approach to have the experiences in relationship with others that I want to have, whether you are single or coupled? And that is what I have for Gemini. Overall, it's going to be, I would say it's a little bit more of a spiritually feeling month for Geminis, where there's real focus on like how to solve problems, how to get out of repeating patterns if you find yourself in any of them, and really recognizing that progress that you've made on those topics, and maybe going even further into that, as well as the possibility that you've reached sort of a threshold, or sort of not a threshold, but like a platform, like you've reached a point maybe in Geminis where you've solved certain problems to a degree that you can focus on other things. Sorry. Okay, so like where you could have reached a point where you solve certain problems to a degree that you can focus on other things, that you can focus on more spiritual things, more things that you're like freed up to be able to do now that you've solved certain things and got certain things to like a stable level in your life. So good job, Gemini. We're going to go on now to our next sign, which is Cancer. Okay, so for Cancers, for November, and you can watch your sun, moon, and rising, we have the new moon in Scorpio happening in your 5th house. So that's going to be planting the seeds for what you want to do in your joy and your fun. Like Cancers, you guys might want to have more fun at this point. You might just be realizing how you want to or need to bring more fun into your life. And you might just be focusing on that. You might be focusing on how you express, how you come across, and like what you want to do for fun. On the 1st, you might not be out having fun. You might just realize the need for it. You might realize, especially if Cancers have been in a phase of life where it's been more boring, more, all work and no play. It might be that on the 1st, you realize you need to like get out and dance or something. On the 2nd, Mercury will enter Sagittarius in your 6th house of, this is like chores. This is like work you have to do. So it's going to make you a little bit busier. You might just have more chores to do, more work to do, more. It's not like fun work usually. Usually it's like, oh, you just got to do this stuff and deal with it. So Mercury can make that 6th house busier, which is like busier solving problems, busier driving to work, busier like just doing things, dealing with things, solving things, resolving things. And then on the 4th, Mars enters Leo in your 2nd house, bringing more activity to your money. Now, sometimes when Mars is in the 2nd, we just spend it almost like before we've even made it. So the advice here is just like be conscious from the 4th of November through the rest of November, December. Be conscious of what you are spending on. You might just need to buy something, like something in your life might cause some conditions that require a big purchase. It might be right on schedule that you're making a big purchase. It might be that you are working overtime with the Mercury in that 6th house, and then you start getting paid more, but you're busier and you're working harder. This could be a month of working more. But sometimes with Mars in the 2nd, it's not always going to be your money that Mars brings activity to. Sometimes it's your possessions. So you might have some actual like things, you might have some things like some possessions that you are busier dealing with or tending to or buying or taking care of or getting rid of, or just, right, like more energy needs to be put into this area of life right now. Because Mars rules your 10th house, Mars going through the 2nd house can also be an indicator of more money, especially for Cancers who are self-employed. If you are self-employed, this might be a month where you have a new idea that brings you some income, or it might be a month where you're starting to develop something to deal with money problems or solve money problems, and that there's a lot of focus on that. Okay, so then on the 11th, Venus enters Capricorn. That's your 7th house. So Venus entering Capricorn in the 7th, well, there's potential for more enjoyment of relationships, right? So we like this. You could have a partner who's bringing you gifts. It could be just, it's nice. Like enjoy whatever your 7th house, enjoy what other people are bringing you from the 11th on, because Venus in Capricorn in the 7th is going to be, it'll put focus on how you're enjoying your time with other people and who has to sacrifice what, it could be bringing up it could bring up a little bit of relationship challenges in the sense of like, what are you sacrificing for others? And do you want to be sacrificing that? And what are they sacrificing for you? And do they want to be sacrificing? And how much of your relationships in general are people just enjoying being together versus people putting in work for each other? Maybe there's some themes here that need to be addressed with this stuff. Also with Venus in Capricorn, because Venus rules your 11th house of friends, from the 11th of November on, Cancers may find that it's a good time to make friends, like friends, people you meet out and about in any kind of social activity or social thing. You could become good friends with people. So if you're a Cancer who wants to make new friends, the 11th on would be a great time to do so. On the 15th, there's a full moon in Taurus in your 11th house. So this is a culmination of your friends, your audience, the people you're around, your social circle, but also the kinds of things you do with other people. So it might be around the 15th you're going to some big event, or there's some kind of focus in your life on the people you're around, the social atmosphere you're in. And it can be, with a full moon, it can be good or bad, but it kind of feels like with the full moon in your 11th house that it's almost like there was a party and all your friends are there. It kind of has that vibe of like everything that's happened with your social circle up until this point, right? Especially in the last year, is like all coming together in a certain way. And for the most part, to me, this feels positive. I mean, you're a Cancer and the moon rules you, right? And it's in Taurus, its best place it could be. And so there is a feeling of like positive blessings from friends, or you being the blessing to your friends. Okay, going on to the 19th. Pluto enters Aquarius in your 8th house. Don't be afraid of this one. Pluto's going to help you deepen your intimacy with other people. It'll like kind of slowly pressure you to really get to know your people more, the people that are already there. And it might make you feel like relationships that aren't able to go deep or to really know the person well, you might be less interested in those kind of relationships. It might just bring that desire for authenticity and depth into your, not just relationships, but like, your intimate, your close relationships with other people. Okay, so then let's see what else. We have the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius, that's your 6th house. So focusing on what needs to be done. Focusing on what needs to be done, focusing on what needs to be tended to, especially related to paying bills. You might literally just be paying bills. And like, for some reason, this being a bigger day of bill paying, maybe on the 21st or around the 21st, because the sun rules your 2nd house of money. So it's like money matters, entering the house of we need to take care of this shit. Like that's the 6th house. The 6th house is shit you need to take care of. So the sun being there is like, let's focus on this. Let's bring some energy to our routine, our workouts, our health, our money, our spending. So it might be like a yearly thing where you're like going through all your expenses for the year and then figuring out what, subscriptions you're cutting or something like that. It could be something like that. Or it could just be simply like you seeing the current financial problems and then wanting to deal with that. And kind of setting your sights or setting a goal on how you're going to deal with that. And then, or you seeing the health stuff you need to deal with and like how you need to eat, especially, your food or your, like how food is affecting your health. And then kind of setting your sights on what you want to do about that. And then on the 26th, when Mercury goes retrograde in Sagittarius, that's gonna go back to what was happening on the 2nd. And here you might be revising whatever you were doing then. Or you might be kind of like, okay, well now I know what I want in my 6th house of health or my employees or how I'm spending all my time, how much I'm working versus how much I'm making, or what I'm eating and how that's affecting my health, or what was the other thing I already just said, or just like how you're spending your money. And then at this point, figuring out, okay, we need to revise our plan because we just realized 5 days ago that we're overspending by X dollars, or that if we saved this many dollars, we could have this, and this problem solved. So now we need to go redo stuff and start shifting things around so that we can kind of take things apart so that once we put them back together, it's going to get us in the direction we want to go. So it's almost as if, metaphorically, the car that you're driving in that solves your problems, you need to kind of rewire the whole vehicle in order to get it to go where you want it to be. Let me know, Cancers, if that metaphor makes sense for what you're dealing with in November. And just a recap of the month for Cancers, I do see new beginnings and fun and pleasure, and also a lot of potential to like enjoy life with friends or focus on who you're with and what you're doing and having fun and going to parties and doing things that are enjoyable. And I just see that all as like having a lot of positive potential for the month, regardless of the other things we talked about with like dealing with money and a little bit of focus on others and kind of figuring out how to solve your like everyday problems is really what I see in focus for the month for Cancer. So let me know in a comment if that resonated, and we're going to go on to our next sign, which is Leo. For Leo, for November 2024, we have the new moon in Scorpio in your 4th house of home. This does just put the focus on the 1st of November on like how you want your home to be. You might have a couple peaceful, quiet days at home. Maybe things are just quieting down a little bit. Or you might be thinking about what you want to see at your next kind of layer of healing or wholeness, or next steps related to your home. But it could also be your emotional foundation, because that 4th house is how we feel, and it's like our emotional baseline. And so sometimes like a new beginning and how you feel in your emotional baseline is going to be about you realizing how you feel now versus how you want to feel, or you at this new level of emotional awareness and emotional capacity, and going forward considering what's possible, and it's like some of you, it's like going to be just buying a new journal and being like, this is my new journal, or whatever else you do to connect with your own inner self. The 1st of November, you might just be focusing on that next step in that process, wherever you are, because you are all going to be in different places with that. So then on the 2nd, Mercury enters Sagittarius. That is your 5th house of self-expression. So maybe Leos are finding new ways to express their emotions. Maybe Leos on the 2nd of astrology, maybe 2nd of November, you are doing, I just distracted myself. You're doing things that, hold on, I lost my spot here. Yeah, maybe on the 2nd, you're investing money into a course or something that you think is going to support your emotional well-being or self-expression. Maybe you are entering a contest, or maybe you are like submitting work, or maybe you are paying to join a club or join a group or join a thing that you think is going to be super fun. Maybe you're just going somewhere you enjoy and it costs money. Maybe you are investing into your own business, a new product or service that you want to offer, or paying for something for your kids. 2nd ruler going into a house usually means you're spending money on that thing. So it's like spending money in the 5th house is like doing fun shit, paying for stuff for your kids, investing in your kids if you have them, investing in your own self-expression. Like even buying new clothes would fit with this, especially if the motivation is to be yourself on a more deeper level. I do feel like there could be some serious authenticity as a focus for the first few days of November for Leos. On the 4th, Mars enters Leo. That's your 1st house of, it's your 1st house of you, your body. So one of the things we see when Mars goes into a house is that you get busier in that house. And the 1st house is you, your body. So like some Leos, November 4th will be working out more, will be doing more, will be taking more action, will be really just getting busier, getting more active, having more to deal with, having more going on. And some of that might be something you want to be doing, right? It might be dealing with challenges, but it might be stuff you want to do. You might be like, you might start taking a Zumba course or some other kind of pleasurable workout activity that's like good for your body and get you moving and like you enjoy doing, right? It could be you start lifting weights or something, anything like that. Now, Mars entering Leo, because your 1st house is Leo and that's you, could also be you being seen more, or trying consciously to put yourself in the spotlight more, or, you know, just actively trying to expand your brand or something, if that makes sense for you. And then Mars rules your 9th house and your 4th house. So it could also be you focusing on emotional foundations or spiritual growth during this time. I would pay attention to what happens on the 4th and see if there are any big themes that happen, because Mars will go retrograde later in the year, and whatever's happening now could possibly be a theme that you end up dealing with then. Okay, on the 11th, Venus enters Capricorn. That's your 6th house. Venus in the 6th is like, there's more potential. Wherever Venus goes, we have more potential to enjoy, right? So Venus in the 6th is going to be more potential to enjoy your chores, your work, your cooking, your whatever you have to do day to day. That's like your responsibilities that, you know, you may not rather do, but you kind of just have to do. That's 6th house. But Venus rules your 10th house and your 3rd house. So this might involve writing, or it might involve your work. It might involve enjoying or doing things that are going to support your work. So for some, you could be working more on something. You could be working more on a project, or sometimes you'll have more work to do that's not necessarily for an employer, not necessarily like the kind of work you get paid for, like work around the house or working on your car or some other kind of like, you know, chores and work in that respect. So the next thing for Leo is the 15th. We have the full moon in Taurus in your 10th house. This is a culmination for Leos of what has been happening in your career. It doesn't mean your job will end or anything, or it doesn't really mean that at all. But that you might be more career focused. You might be some kind of project you've been working on could build itself up to a point where it's at its fullest. Your 10th house is at its fullest when there's a full moon in the 10th. So it's like, what needs to be released? Maybe you have too much work, but also it could be just simply a time where that area of life is bringing you more to do, more customers, more clients if you have a business, more work to do if you have a job. And that work may not always be, it's in the 10th house, so there is the potential for recognition here, but a full moon by itself is not going to like make you famous or blow up your social media. It will put more focus and maybe more need to focus, maybe more things to do into that area. And whether those things are going to get you far or not, or whether they're busy work, that's a different story. But you'll see probably more of a heavy focus on matters related to your reputation, related to your role in life, especially work-related things, mid-month. Then on to the 19th, when Pluto enters your 7th house of Aquarius. Pluto has been going off and on into this house. And so that can create a need for authenticity in relationships. Now, Pluto going into the 7th is not like lovely for relationships. It can make it hard. It can bring up themes in relationships that you have to surrender to. And usually that's not stuff we want. But keep in mind that just the transit of Pluto here isn't usually the catalyst for big changes. In order to see that, we need to see Pluto aspecting a lot of personal planets at the same time for it to be like something huge. Overall, for the next 20 years though, number one, Pluto is out of your 6th house. Yay! Yay, because Pluto in the 6th sometimes will tax your health, or it will cause you to have to deal with problems related to work. And it's like, it's going to bring up work related problems and problems related to like, are you authentically doing the work that you're like feeling aligned to do? But when it moves into the 7th house, it's going to very slowly move you toward authentic connections and relationships. So even in the last couple years, if you have had a breakup, or if you have found that you realize on a deeper level what you want more in relationship, and that, you can't really accept certain issues or something like that, Pluto may have been involved. But again, don't feel like that means that the whole 20 years is going to be you being stretched and like having to transform in relationships. It's more like you'll become aware day by day what you want and don't want, and what is aligned and what is not aligned. And you'll really feel it if relationships aren't working for you. Okay, so on the 21st for Leo, the sun in Sagittarius is going to be in your 5th house. This is a really nice time for Leos because the sun in the 5th is like fun. It's the fun house. The sun puts a spotlight on fun. Maybe you'll start doing some things you enjoy. Maybe you'll realize ways you want to have more pleasure in your life. Maybe you'll set your sights on things you want to be doing for fun, for pleasure, for entertainment. And then Mercury is going to retrograde on the 26th of November. And that might be you kind of figuring out how to like maybe financially or in other ways invest into the things that you want. Like what do you need to change or revise or edit or shift in order to have the fun you want to have? And for some Leos, maybe there's not that much to change, and maybe it's just about going back over a fun creative project that you maybe were gonna publish in the past and you stopped, or something you started writing. Like maybe for some Leos, you're going back to a book you started writing, or a other thing that you started doing, another creative passion that you started working on in the past and just weren't able to focus on. And now you're putting more energy into that, and possibly even investing money into it. Not necessarily, like I'm not giving any advice here, but it is your second ruler in the 5th. So that is one way that could show up, and it's retrograde. So it's like, it's that, or you might just be going over, like, especially if you have kids, you might be going over like how much they're costing you and like how much you're spending on their different things, and revising that budget If you don't have kids, it could be your pleasure budget. You could just be looking at how much you drank last month or how much you spent on, I was going to say Netflix, but that's not it doesn't change. Like subscriptions or other things that like, and maybe going in and seeing like what is really worth it financially here and what isn't, or any other ways that you express yourself. So like if you love buying clothes, you might be going back over and seeing how much you bought, or you might be like going through your closet and like getting rid of the things you know aren't going to work with your wardrobe or something, right? So the topic of revising with the things that bring you pleasure, and that can be anything depending on what kind of stuff you're into. But Mercury brings sort of a feeling around this of like sorting through it, separating the pieces, and then maybe later coming back to put them all back together. All right, that's what I have for Leos, guys. It's a month about that new moon in Scorpio, though, and the full moon in Taurus does make me feel like there might be some themes throughout the month of kind of like maybe getting to a certain point with your career or your work or your role in life where now you can focus a little bit more in on your inner world and your inner life or something like that. And then also for Leos, just that shift from like something big happening in that 10th house of recognition or having to show up more for career, but then at the same time, kind of having that sense that maybe the next phase might be more about honoring feelings or getting quiet or doing things that are going through a phase where you're back in the creation stage, not the production stage. So take what resonates. It's a general reading, and let me know what fits for you. And we're going to go on to our next sign, which is Virgos. Okay, for Virgos, we have the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st is going to be in your 3rd house of writing, your siblings, your local environment, your commute, your car. Okay, so new beginnings related to how you communicate. And because we know that full moon in Taurus is coming mid-month, this might have to do with communicating what you know. Communicating what you know. And we will talk more about that when we talk about the full moon. But there might be a little glimmer of a seed of what you want to be able to communicate on the 1st. There might be a little glimmer of a sense that there might be something new percolating in your 3rd house of Scorpio, of your ability to understand life at a deeper level. Because it's Scorpio on your 3rd, it's like your ability to transmute pain or trauma, if that applies to you, your desire to know things and learn things and discover more about how the universe works at a deeper level. And with the 3rd and the 9th house axis being, highlighted by this new full moon cycle, it's a time of like the balance between that 9th house, which is all about our quest toward meaning and fulfillment and God and spirituality, and that 3rd house of it's more, when we compare it to the 9th, it's more about the daily, day-to-day human experience. So the new moon in the 3rd house might be the beginning of a cycle where you start feeling more grounded, or feeling the need to connect more in to your day-to-day material environment in some way. All right. It could also be new beginnings with siblings for some of you. On the 2nd, Mercury enters your 4th house of Sagittarius. You might be spending more time at home or by yourself, writing, communicating, thinking, pondering. Mercury in the 4th is good for like just sitting there and understanding something and not needing to do something. Mercury in the 4th is good for that ability to contemplate and to understand the emotional nature, to understand emotional depth, to be receptive, to understand the concept that not every goal works for everybody, like to understand the concept of authenticity and what it means to be yourself, and to be able to kind of treat people as unique individuals rather than cookie cutter people, right? So people with lots of 10th house stuff, it's like, I think of like it's almost like I don't know how to explain it. I think of like empty business models that are like, oh, I'm going to teach coaches how to coach other coaches. And the person's like, I don't fucking want to be a coach. I'm not even good at that stuff. I'm great at like reading tarot. So why would you coach me to coach other coaches? Because it makes money. And it's like, what about your soul? What about your soul? So Mercury in the 4th is good for what about your soul? And honoring and connecting to your soul. So for Virgos, if you have any goals in life that you're like, this is not feeling aligned, this would be a really good time on the 2nd to get into, to really dig, especially work-related stuff, dig into what is going to honor your soul, And I don't mean go quit your job and have no money and sleep in your van. I mean, like, what kind of work, if what you're doing is not aligned, how would it need to be aligned? What are you good at? What are your natural skills first? Then how could you develop that into a business, not the other way around? Are there ways, Virgo, that you have been just trying to put yourself into a cookie cutter and you're like, I'm not fitting into this mold. It's not really working. This would be a time to, if you want to look at that and you want to honor that, to journal it out or to talk to someone, because Mercury in that 4th house will help you to see what it is, if you want to see the authentic truth about how you feel, if that's what you want to do. On the 4th, Mars enters Leo. This is your 12th house. Mars rules your 3rd and 8th house. I have Virgo rising. This transit sucks. There's more potential bad for Mars in the 12th than there is good. But what would be good about Mars in the 12th? If you are maybe doing magic, if you are doing something like Tai Chi, maybe if you are doing something that takes something physical and does it in a spiritual way where you're moving your body to move the energy and like cleansing things, that might be one positive expression of Mars in the 12th. Let me think what else. What else could be good here? If you want to figure out why you have so much repressed anger, I'm not saying you do, Virgo, but if that's something you're like, yeah, I wish I knew what was making me so mad, I would say this is a very good time to journal it out, to explore that, because when Mars goes into the 12th, the sort of like the stereotypical meaning of this for someone who has this natally would be that they have to be by themselves to figure out how they feel. They need time out to figure out like how they feel about stuff, to figure out why they're angry, and they won't know why. Like, it won't be easy to identify in the moment the feeling of anger. Or 12th house Mars people will be like in a situation where they're talking to someone, and it isn't until they leave the situation that they go, oh man, I should have gotten mad about that. So there could be a bigger life theme here of feeling that from the 4th of November on, of man, I should have gotten mad about that. And it might not be one thing. It might be a series of patterns that you realize, I should have said no. There might be some self-awareness here coming around repressed anger and things that in the past that you didn't know weren't okay, and realizing, I should have had better boundaries with these people. And so it could be something happening now. It could be something from the past, but there may be a need to really consider repressed anger. Okay. Other ways Mars entering Leo on the 4th of November might be affecting Virgos would be, again, like spiritual, almost like spiritual warfare, spiritual protection, psychic protection, learning psychic protection, learning spiritual protection, learning how to protect your psyche from other people. And that might not be by doing anything, because it's the 12th house. It might just be by like mindsetting it, where that phrase, no one can make you feel inferior without consent. It might be that kind of thing where it's like, oh, this person's trying to make me feel bad. And then you learn on a deeper level how to just not feel bad and be like, tough shit, you can't manipulate me. It might be something like that where you become aware of that. You may become aware, and I'm sorry this is not positive, but I can't sugarcoat it. On the 4th of November and through the rest of November, it's possible this may not be true for everyone, but it's one possible negative thing of this transit is you could see hidden enemies. Hidden enemies might be revealed to you. And that's because Mars rules your third house of siblings, but also people you're around, people you just see when you're out and about. The people you see kind of on a regular basis when you're out and about, you could find they're somehow working against you. Okay, so it could be the smallest thing, like someone at the gas station you go to is doing some shit they shouldn't be doing and it's unethical. Or it could be like in your workplace or somewhere else you go all the time, you find out people have been talking about you behind your back or something like that. It's probably not going to be that huge of a deal, but I don't love this transit for those reasons. And good ways that you can use Mars in the 12th might be like, again, doing some kind of spiritual cleansing or like spiritual or psychic protection of any kind. That could be what's going on. Okay, so then on the 11th, but pay attention to whatever's happening here on the 4th of November, because it might give us more clues to what you might be dealing with when Mars goes retrograde. And don't be afraid of Mars retrograde. Some people do really well with them, so they're not always destined to be bad things. And the next thing is going to be the 11th, where, so on the 11th, let me see. Hold on a second. Okay. Going on for Virgos on to the 11th, where Venus enters Capricorn. This is your 5th house. Venus in the 5th house is very, very nice for dating. So Virgos who are single and ready to mingle, Venus might really help with just having a really nice date or a really nice time. And so to capitalize on this transit, get out there and talk to people and flirt with people. If you are single, if you're in a relationship, Venus is still in the house of pleasure. So there's still potential to enjoy having enjoyment with your partner, if you get what I'm saying there. And if you're like single, and you're like, I don't want to do any of that, it's still a good transit for enjoying yourself. And that's in any kind of way you want to enjoy yourself. So like just pleasure, right? Pleasure, entertainment, fun, going out and doing things, feeling like fun things come to you. Like you want to capitalize on this by like trying to go do something fun. Also, because Venus rules your 9th house, you could really be enjoying some spiritual things at this point, like spiritual practices or a new meditation practice or anything that is 9th house related, like astrology or learning about, I don't know, like reading Plato or reading psychology or finding like a new psychology book on pleasure or like reading, I'm thinking of like The Art of Seduction or like anything like that. That's like spiritual and blend spirituality with pleasure. Those may be topics, or spiritual things that are not pleasureful at all that you just like, right? So like maybe you find a new book on Stoicism and you're just in love with it because you love Stoicism and it has nothing to do with pleasure. It's the opposite of pleasure. Venus in Capricorn could really be loving Stoicism, loving something serious, reading a book about capitalism and just digging it, right? Because Capricorn rules all these dry, boring ass things. So if you're a Virgo like me, I'm a Virgo rising, you might like dry, boring ass things. So enjoy your dry, boring, podcast about Roman history, Virgo, on the 11th. And then, on the 15th, to keep on that focus of the 9th house, I said I'd talk about this later. The 15th, the 9th house has that full moon in Taurus. So this is a culmination of your 9th house. Virgo, what have you been studying? On the 15th of November, maybe it reaches a certain peak, a certain level where you're like, it might not be over. It might just be at the good part of the story. You know what I mean? Because like the full moon, it's like It's like the good part of the movie. The full moon is like the climax, you guys. It's the best part of the song. It's the biggest part of the song. It's not the end of the song. The song still has to wind down afterwards. So on the 15th of November, Virgos may have some epiphany. They might have some meaningful experience. You might reach a certain point in a course of study where you know what you're doing now and it feels really good. You might be just learning a lot and loving it and like just diving all into whatever you're studying. You might be taking or teaching a course. And again, that ninth third house axis is very much the axis of matter and spirit. The third house is matter, the ninth house is spirit. It's about how we bring down the beliefs into regular life. And people with imbalances here will want to just meditate and not eat. You know what I mean? Like you won't want to even do mundane life if you have a ninth, third house imbalance. But that ninth house full moon in Taurus for Virgos, I love this for you, especially because Venus, the ruler of that full moon, is in your fifth house of pleasure. So I think the 15th, there's going to be something nice. Something pleasurable, something that blends matter and spirit. And you probably are going to like it, I think. On the 19th, Pluto enters Aquarius in your sixth house. Don't get all scared. Pluto's going to make you sick or something. What's more likely is your routines and how you spend your time. Pluto might be showing you what's working with that and what's not working. Pluto might make you feel more aware of ways that your schedule, your health, your routines are not authentic to you. Maybe you believe in eating healthy, but you keep eating seed oils. Pluto's going to show you that. Maybe you really want to be good at a certain skill, but you're not actually doing what it takes to be good at it. Pluto's going to show you that. One possible benefit of Pluto, this is a 20-year transit, but one thing Pluto can help with is getting to the root cause of topics of that house. And one of the topics of the sixth house is health. So for Virgos who already have some kind of health thing they're dealing with and want to know why, Pluto can help. Now, help is not always the right word for Pluto because it makes it sound really easy. But the thing is that sometimes Pluto helps you by putting you through something that feels a lot like hell. So it's like maybe some Virgos may have to go to great lengths to understand the root cause of their health problems at some point during the next 20 years. Maybe some Virgos are going to great lengths to get better at a certain skill and it's going to put them through the ringer. You know, it's going to put you through a lot. Maybe some Virgos are going to have to be spending their time in ways that deal with topics of power, powerlessness, or surrender. And maybe those are by choice. You know, maybe there's certain topics that are like dealing with occult topics, right? Because Pluto is the unseen. Maybe Virgos are going to be spending more of their time the next 20 years dealing with unseen forces. And maybe that'll be fun. Maybe you're ghost hunting, or maybe you are dealing with energy, or you're doing energy work, or maybe you are learning about the meridians or doing tarot or something else that is more that unseen layer of reality. There's a bunch of other stuff Pluto in the sixth can be doing here, but that's the overall gist of it. On the 21st, Virgos have the sun entering Sagittarius. That's in your fourth house. The sun rules your 12th house. So if you want to make the most of this transit on the 21st, Virgos, this would be looking at how you self-sabotage. Looking at emotions, right? Because the 12th ruler is like our shadow, where we self-sabotage, where we don't realize we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And then the fourth house is how we feel. It's our emotional foundation. Yes, it's our home. Yes, it's our family. But I don't think you're self-sabotaging your family. I think the sun will illuminate ways that you have possibly self-sabotaged relating to your emotional foundation. Or it might just help you see, if I want results in this area, this is what I'm going to have to do. How do you need to be more authentic and be yourself? I think this transit will show you this. It will show you the current layer of where you are operating not as yourself what areas of life maybe are not as authentic to you. And you might just put more focus on family, home, or being by yourself and thinking about stuff and like visualizing things in your own room by yourself. Or, the fourth house is almost like our bedroom, because it's like what we do behind closed doors, and that's different for everyone. But with the sun there's attention and focus on this. There's attention and focus on being at home. So you might just be at home more. You might be resting more. And during the next transit, that's the 26th of November, Mercury goes retrograde in that same house. So this might be a time where you're recontemplating things and you're going over your thoughts about whatever was happening earlier in the month when Mercury entered Sagittarius. So Mercury enters Sagittarius on the 2nd. So what are you doing on November 2nd that now on the 26th, you're going back and seeing, okay, this is, and taking it apart and being like, well, this is what worked. This is what didn't work. Or maybe you have journals from the 2nd and you're going through that journal. Or maybe you have health stuff going on and you're going over what supplement you took and how you felt, or what you ate and how you felt, right? So it kind of depends on what topics in your life are affecting your emotions based on what's happening in your life right now and your home life, right? Because if you work from home, well, this could be you going back over the work from home you started on the 2nd of November and seeing the analytics of it. If you are just getting in a relationship and maybe you just moved in, well, then it's going back through the stuff and like reorganizing it to work for both of you. But there's a feeling of, let's go back and look at what was happening in our home or our emotions or with our home business back on the 2nd, and kind of take the parts, take out the parts and analyze the different pieces and see what's working and what's not working. So this could just be journaling or like reading your old journal, because the 4th house rules our emotional foundation. So that concept, that activity of like going back over the analytics of a thing might actually in this case be applied to how you feel. Like, I felt really good when I lived in this country or when I was doing these things, and why am I not doing them now? Or when I do this every day, I feel like crap emotionally. These meditations make me feel amazing. These ones make me feel bad. Whatever it is, but it does feel like there's a going back through the emotional life and the habits and seeing how they're affecting the emotions. All right, so the overview for November for Virgos. We're looking at the difference between matter and spirit, and putting new emphasis on everyday matters, while at the same time some kind of course of study or something hits its high point or comes to an almost completion, like the really good part before the end of it. And so this is a time of bringing what you know into form, bringing what you've learned and what you believe at this point into form, while at the same time there's a lot of focus on internal matters of your heart, matters of how you feel, and more private topics with all this 4th house stuff going on. Okay, so this looks like an interesting month for Virgos. We are going to go on to our next sign, and make sure you let me know in a comment how this resonated, how it feels, and what stood out to you, if anything. So going on to our next sign, which is Libra for Libras. November 2024 is going to bring some focus on financial matters. We have the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st in your 2nd house, which might be you planting seeds for new beginnings when it comes to your finances, wanting to deepen your power when it comes to financial matters, wanting to use money to take care of yourself, and really focusing on, what do I need to be putting into this area of life in order to get it to give back to me, right? So really focusing on like what that next level of financial freedom, financial status, or just, buying power is going to be. Some of you might be making a purchase on the 1st. I'm not giving advice on whether to do that or not, but we're seeing new beginnings and the moment before the new beginning related to finances and also related to things, because the new moon is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is known as like a sign of burning things off and purging. Then it might be that on the 1st of November, Libras are getting rid of a thing that they plan on replacing, or making room through, not even through focusing on what's being gained, but creating an empty space for something. So like getting your clothes out of your closet, or cleaning out your fridge because you want to buy a turkey for Thanksgiving, or like something else like that, where like it's the energy of making space for the new thing. The new thing might or might not even be on the way yet, but you want to get ready for it. Then we have the 2nd, where Mercury enters Sagittarius. That's your 3rd house. So you might be finding new books to read, new fun things to learn around this time. You might be starting to take a new course, or have a course you've been taking take on a lot more of your time and focus. This feels like fun. It feels like fun learning something new. It feels like fun exploring the town, or having fun going around to the different sites in your local neighborhood, just, maybe, I mean, I know this is November, but maybe like going to the haunted house or the pumpkin patch, or like enjoying your local environment's another way this could show up for Libras. But it does bring activity to your commute, driving around a lot. And it might be for fun, but it's not as likely to be like a long quest as it is to be like going through the different things in your neighborhood, or going to all the different Goodwills, or whatever it is you like to do, to find all the different good things from all different places, like taking things from all different places to make your perfect November decorations, or whatever it is you're doing at this time of year. On the 4th, Mars enters Leo. That's your 11th house. And the 11th house rules communities, friends, the people we're around, fun things we do with others. It rules, again, it's like our group of friends, but also just groups of people that we are connected to. If you are on social media, the 11th house is your audience, but it describes them, like who they are. And also, because Mars rules your 2nd house and your 7th house, the 2nd house is a money house, the 11th house is a money house. So some Libras might be busier making money. They might be launching something. If you are a Libra with social media or with an audience, you might be launching something to your audience you want them to buy. You could also be doing something like demonstrative. I don't even like using that word, but you might be like doing something where you are seen dancing, or putting on a production, or putting on a show, or putting on a thing, an event of some kind anywhere, whether it's online or whether it's in real life. You might just be going out and like almost like performing for a performance, any kind of performance. If you are not a performer, then it's not that. You might be going out to initiate something with a group of people. You might be starting a group, or starting to attend group things, any kind of group thing at this point. You might just be busier doing social stuff during this time. You might have a really busy social life and just have more to do, just like that area of life can speed up. Or you might be going to do things that are very Mars and Leo, like watching people dance, watching people perform, watching fighters fight, watching a sport that's more violent, or more aggressive in nature. And that could be on your TV, or it could be like, in real life too, going to the game. Okay, on the 11th, Venus enters Capricorn in your 4th house, a good time to enjoy your home, enjoy your family, enjoy your personal development, or your feeling of like being at home in your own skin, maybe doing meditations where you're just like feeling your own energy, or like connecting with, the 4th house is like how we feel. It's our emotional foundation, and Venus there makes it more enjoyable. So it's like enjoying how you feel, connecting with how you feel, connecting with psychology, emotions. 4th house topics are like privacy, emotions, how people feel, maybe connecting deeply with others, having lovely, deep conversations with people or conversations about emotions might be coming up. But Venus in the fourth could also be just you beautifying your home, you making it look pretty, you enjoying being at home, putting on nice music, creating a vibe, like enjoying the senses in your house, right? Maybe putting on adding lights or making it a scene or doing things that you enjoy at home. It could be your favorite candle. It could be your favorite music. It could be cooking food and eating it by yourself or with others, right? So it's just enjoying the senses in a private way is kind of what this transit is about. That's the 11th of November. On the 15th, Libras have a full moon in Taurus in the 8th house. The 8th house is like sex, death, and other people's money. The full moon in the 8th could be a time, okay, if debt is an issue for Libras, this could be a time where your debt is the highest or it's at a culmination, like you've cut up the credit card or something like that. But it could also be your investments or your partner's money. Okay, so it could be your partner having a time where they get a boon in their finances, and that, that bounty, that extra, that fullness runs over to you, kind of a thing. But also, it does feel like it could be a point where this is going to be more only if you're a Libra who has been relying on someone else's money, like you're married and your spouse makes the money, or someone has been helping you. This might be the time where that finishes or that comes to its highest, like someone helps you the most, and now their support is going to start waning down after this. And this is why that the new beginnings on your own money and your own stuff is important here. Other ways this could show up is like you just giving a bunch of stuff away because you're going to get new stuff, and you're like need to move it's like get the energy moving, like create the space. We talked about this already, creating the space for the new things you want to call in, and like doing that by consciously releasing whatever it's going to replace. And it might go the other way around, where you get something new on the 1st of November, and then you get rid of a bunch of stuff on the 15th because you had to move all that stuff to make the new couch fit, and it's still there and it needs to be taken care of or something. Okay, on the 19th, Pluto enters Aquarius. That's your 5th house of fun, pleasure. Okay, so I think I feel like Pluto in the 5th will be more positive for Libras. Okay, because it's the 5th house, it's the fun house. I don't think Pluto is going to take away your fun. I think Pluto is going to help you be more authentic in what you desire and connect with, become aware of ways that your pleasure-seeking activities, your activities that you do for fun or for enjoyment or for, just to do things that you like. Maybe you're going to realize during this next 20 years, because it's a 20-year transit, oh, I really do like knitting, or like, I really do love clothes, or whatever it is that you like. I can only think of things I like right now. I don't like knitting, so I don't know why I said that. But 5th house, Libras, the authenticity of what you enjoy. And that might involve at some point during this 20 years, realizing you don't like going to that specific coffee place for coffee anymore. It's not in alignment with your values. You used to get joy out of it, now you don't. Or it might be something deeper than this, right? Because the 5th house is pleasure and it's also sex. So I think Pluto in the 5th could actually support Libras who are wanting to do tantra, or wanting to really deepen their sensual experience with their bodies. That could actually be a good thing. If you are dating, if you're a Libra who's single and dating, Pluto here could make dating a little bit harder, in the sense that if someone's not a match, you might realize that, you might realize how to date more authentically, or how to, I don't know how to explain it, get to the root cause of dating things, like, if you want to learn about how to date, right? Like maybe you don't need this, Libras. Some of you are more socially aware and that's not an issue. But if you want to learn how to date, or if you want to learn how to connect with others in a more authentic way or express yourself in an authentic way, you might actually be putting some energy into this topic of learning how to express yourself authentically or learning how to be yourself. When everyone says be yourself, but you're like, but how? How do you just be yourself? Well, what might happen is you might realize how the things that you've been doing are not you. You might feel the fatigue around the same activities. That's how you know that the universe is helping you be yourself, because you realize what you don't like about your life and then you want to change it. That's how you be yourself. Okay, so don't be all scared of Pluto. It's 20 years. It's not going to be, holding your head underwater for 20 years. On the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius. That's your third house. The sun rules your 11th house. So the 11th house of friends go into the third house of communication. You might be having a lot of conversations. There might be a spotlight on your siblings. You might be focusing on going different places for social reasons. Maybe people in your friend circle are going to come over to your house and hang out with you, or there's going to be more chances to talk to people, more chances to, if you are a Libra who has any kind of published work or especially written work, maybe the sun will put a spotlight on your written work at this time, but that's not going to be, I can't say that confidently as a prediction or anything, but it's like, whatever your third house is, whatever your siblings are, whatever your local environment is, wherever you run errands, there will be a spotlight on that in some way. It might be your car, and it might be in a good way where you're like, oh, I'm just going to clean my car, or I'm just going to have it detailed. And it's like a good positive focus on your car. But, overall, the third house is also our mind and our conversations. And so it does feel like a time where the conversations might be happening with anyone, really. So then on the 26th, when Mercury, another thing with the sun and Sag on the 21st is, you might be setting goals or really focusing in on what you want related to your third house, which is, who do you want to be talking to? Who do you want in your local environment? What store do you want to be stopping by on your way home from work? This is a mundane house. The third house is mundane. It's everyday stuff. So the most evolved part of it is when it's related to the ninth house of our higher learning, and how that higher learning, can you communicate what you know? Are you able to put what you believe into words? There might be some focus on this, but it may be just everyday stuff. You have a bunch of places you want to go. There's a lot of stuff to be done. Maybe you're thinking about where you need to go get a bunch of things, where you're going to meet your friends. Maybe your friends come to a local thing that's close to you. Maybe your friends come to you at this time. Overall, though, there might be an energy here of a desire. If you have any desire to communicate differently, better, in a new way, I think the 21st is going to highlight that. And then on the 26th, when Mercury goes retrograde, we might see changes either to your commute, your local environment, or we might see some changes to your, whatever was happening on the 2nd of November related to changing communication, having conversations with people. Maybe on the 26th, you're going back to a conversation that happened on the 2nd, or an awareness that you had, or something you read or studied or wrote on the 2nd, and you're going back over it and fixing it and changing it and editing it, or taking the pieces apart and analyzing it. Definitely analyzing things, right? Because it's Mercury retrograde in the third house, and it might be about some kind of Sagittarius topic that is close to your life, like analyzing your next trip, going through the different pieces of the itinerary and seeing what you want to do. But because Mercury rules the 12th house, you might also be analyzing how you've self-sabotaged something in the past and kind of taking the pieces apart so that you don't do that again next time you do whatever thing you're doing. So overall for Libra, there is a lot of focus on money, what you have, what you own, your value, your self-worth, and also communication, how you're coming across and how you're expressing yourself this month. So that's what I see for Libras. And now on to our next sign, which is going to be Scorpios. Scorpio, for November 2024, we have the new moon in your first house of you. So it is a time of new beginnings, of things that you want to start, initiate, do, tackle, or otherwise accomplish. And remember, the first may not be the day that you're going out and doing all the things. It might be the day you're considering what you want to do differently in this next cycle. And then on the second, Mercury enters Sagittarius. That's your second house of money. So Mercury in the money house sometimes will make you spending more money, will have you spending more money. Let's not use the word make. That's kind of weird. But Mercury rules your 8th house, so it could be you are receiving money from a partner, or you're receiving money from, like, it's also your 11th house. You might get a bonus. You might get some money from some good money that's just like a reward or something easy. So that would be nice. But sometimes with Mercury in the second, it's more you going through the budget and seeing what you spent and like analyzing the different pieces, or maybe making a plan, financial plan. And also it could just be you making a purchase that on the 26th, when Mercury goes retrograde, that you are going back over. Maybe you're setting up a budget, and then at the end of the month, you're going to go back over it and see what it's about. Now, if you do that every month, there may be something else going on here. And that might be a few things. But you could, again, Mercury could just make your money more busy, but it makes it busy in a way of like, well, I'm going to take from this account for this and this account for this, and I'm going to move this into savings. So it gives a feeling of movement to the finances. And the movement may not be you moving it from your account to someone you're buying something from. It could be you moving your money to a new bank, or adding bank accounts, or transferring funds, or doing stuff like that. Okay, so then on the 4th, Mars enters your 10th house of Leo. Really pay attention to what's happening on this day, because Mars will retrograde in Leo, and this should, usually Mars in the 10th, you're going to be busier at work, busier with your role in life, busier overcoming obstacles related to your work, or feeling like I gotta move the needle here. You know, like it can make you feel more motivated to work harder, or it could do it in a way that it's not quite as fun as I made it sound. Right? So sometimes it's like your boss is on your ass and you have to just hustle and like hurry up and give them what they want. Because Mars can put a fire under your ass, and the 10th house is your boss. If you're self-employed, it might be more just the nature of where your business is right now requires you to hustle and you know, introduce speed to the equation. Mars is you, so it's like you're hurrying up and getting shit done in your job, in your career. You're going fast. You're feeling like you need to be seen. You maybe are performing or doing something more public that people are seeing you actually do something. That's a possibility. You might be almost like going out as your own brand, or like having to be seen doing what you do. But Mars entering Leo overall for Scorpio is just going to bring a lot more focus on your reputation, your profession, your legacy, what you're leaving behind, and you just may be more motivated to focus on this stuff. On the 11th, Venus enters Capricorn. This is your 3rd house. You can enjoy conversations. You can enjoy reading. You can enjoy learning, studying, communicating what you know. Maybe you're doing a speech or something and you're like enjoying it. I think it's either enjoying communicating a speech, or maybe the focus is shifting here, and this is you having conversations with your significant other, or having conversations about relationship, or thinking about what you want in love. On the 15th, the full moon in Taurus is in your 7th house. For Scorpios who are in relationships, this full moon may bring a culmination in your relationship. It doesn't mean it's going to end, but like a time where relationship is really in the spotlight and really in the focus in your life. So it's like the time where you and your partner are going out more, you're dating more, you're focusing on each other more, you're talking about your dreams, you're a lot more energy and focus on the relationship. If you're single or you're not in a committed relationship, For Scorpio, that 7th house full moon is a culmination of whoever is in your life, whoever your best friends are, whoever the most important other people are. There's a feeling of getting to see them more or having more energy on that. Now, if you're like, no, I'm super isolated right now, well, then sometimes this can be you focusing on other people who are like professionals who you're working with. Like it could be business partners or like a lawyer or a tax like an accountant or other people who like work with you on your team or aren't under you or above you. Okay, so overall, it does feel like maybe it's possible. It's possible for some Scorpios, a relationship is just like at its peak that you already kind of know is not going to be forever. And it might just be like, I don't feel like this is everyone. I don't want anyone getting scared like their relationship's going to end, because I don't think you should predict that on a general reading. But I don't even predict that in real life, honestly. I don't think it's good. But let me see. If you're a Scorpio and you have spent too much time with others and not enough on yourself, this might be a month where you start feeling that. And again, that 7th house full moon could be more of a culmination of like, there is a certain other person in your life that right now you're just seeing a lot of them. And maybe that will wind down or something. But it's almost like a focus shift where there's a big focus on others this month, but there's almost this expectation that that's not going to stay that way, and that there will be more focus on you and what you want in the coming months or something. So some of you might be like, almost like being in this is almost like being in the passenger seat in the relationship for a certain amount of time, or putting some of the things you want on the back burner, or realizing the things that you want that have been on the back burner and then realizing you don't want to stay on the back burner. And like that new moon in the beginning of the month is the beginning of you sort of planting more seeds for you driving the car of your life down the road of your life. Okay, so then on the 19th, Pluto enters your 4th house. And it's going to stay there for 20 years. This is a big transit. Congratulations. Whatever Pluto was doing in your 3rd house is now going to be over forever. And it will never, ever, ever mess that shit up again. It's going to mess up new shit. But no, I'm just joking. But I mean, it is true. But like when just Pluto enters the house, it doesn't always have a life-changing effect. So don't get all scared. Pluto in the 4th house will bring you into a more authentic relationship with your own self. If you are not being honest with yourself about what makes you happy and how you feel, Pluto in your 4th house will, maybe not even so gently, encourage you to figure that out, to get connected to your own authentic needs, your own authentic feelings. And if you have a bunch of repressed stuff from childhood or family stuff from the past, Pluto might at certain times during the next 20 years show you those problems. And then you get to do with them what you will. Now that's going to be different for everyone, right? Depending on what's in that 4th house, how many skeletons are in the closet. But don't get scared or anything. It's just Pluto. Well, I can't really say that. You've already had a foreshadowing of this because we've had Pluto dipping back into Aquarius and out of Aquarius. So this isn't totally new energy, but it's not going to be a big deal every single day of the transit. It's a 20-year transit. And I think that Pluto in the 4th can just make you more authentically you. And it can help you. I'm thinking about what this did for me. Yeah, it can put you through things that show you who you are. And I don't want to make you scared, but it's your Scorpio, so you guys are fine. Never mind. Okay, going on. Going on to the next thing. On the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius. That's your 2nd house of money. So having the sun ruling your 10th house and your money house It's possible some Scorpios could be getting some kind of bonus or getting the rewards of the work they're doing, or get an extra paycheck, or especially if this makes sense for what's on schedule for you. If you've been like promoting a certain thing in your business, or you have a employer who might give you a bonus at that time. But either way, the spotlight's on your finances and what you have. Some of you might be making a big purchase for Black Friday. Others of you might be just looking at your budget and seeing what you're doing and like focusing on that. You might be taking care of your things. Sometimes the sun in the second will bring that focus to your physical possessions, what you have and what you own, even the food in your fridge. So it's like, for some Scorpios, that 21st transit on November 21st will bring you some money. Some of you might be buying stuff. Some of you might be stocking your fridge filled with food for Thanksgiving. Some of you might be polishing your furniture. I don't know what people do when they're taking care of their things. Some of you might be cleaning some of your stuff because you want it to shine, right? So putting that focus on your things, your money, and like what you're proud of, right? Because that sun is ruled by Leo, and it's like, how can you be proud of your stuff? Maybe you're buying something that's like a trophy type thing, or polishing trophies. I just keep getting like the image of like trophies. So maybe that's for one person. If that relates, let me know. Okay, the 26th, Mercury goes retrograde in your second house. So this really does speak to a time where you might be revising your finances. You might realize whatever you just bought a couple days ago was overpriced, or you could also just be budgeting and like kind of going over how much you spent or made over the year and seeing, okay, this worked, this didn't work, this moved the needle, this didn't move the needle, especially if you have a business. If you don't have a business, then this could still be you going over like where you lost money, where you kept money, or even, the Mercury retrograde in the second house might be you going through your stuff. That with Mercury, it has a feeling of taking a big thing and taking all the little parts and components out. So that could be a room in your house. That could be your actual bank account where you're like looking at all the little pieces of the budget and figuring out where the holes are, where money's leaking, or what's working, and how much interest you're getting. It could be a positive focus. But usually with Mercury, there's this energy of taking all the different pieces and then figuring out how they're going to work together, or getting rid of separating the wheat from the chaff, like a Virgo, and whittling it down to what's necessary. And so that can be happening with your finances or your possessions. But also for Scorpios, you could just be going over something happening with your finances or your stuff back on November 2nd. And then on the 26th, reassessing that topic and seeing how it went. So it kind of depends on what you were doing at that time. So that is what I have for Scorpios. Let me know in a comment below if it resonates, and we're going to go on to our next sign of Sagittarius. I need more water. Okay, let me check on the comments here. Okay. Oh yeah, Fielda's saying something about my signs, how they're similar. Cora made it. You made it today. That's great. Okay, going on. Going on to Sagittariuses. All right, so if you guys are Sages, then if you're a Sag sun, you're just like me. So we're going to go on to what is going on for Sagittarius for November of 2024. We have on the 1st, the new moon in Scorpio in your 12th house, illuminating your subconscious mind, your shadow work, any hidden enemies, illuminating, maybe not illuminating fully, right? Because it's a new moon and it's dark, planting seeds to the work you might want to be doing in this area. With it being in Scorpio, I'm getting vibes on the 1st of November, guys, the Day of the Dead. I'm getting, you guys know that, like the Halloween is the 31st, right? But then like November 1st is like the Day of the Dead, and they say that like it's when the veil is the thinnest, and it's kind of how we got Halloween is All Hallows Eve. Anyway, so what am I saying here? Yeah, this gives me a feeling of like connecting with past over loved ones energy, right? The 12th house being things that are unseen, the new moon in Scorpio being our new beginnings related to Scorpio stuff, like psychic stuff or occult matters or tarot or getting to the root cause of things in that 12th house where we tend to have hidden stuff, psychological stuff we can't see. So maybe there is a desire here, like a quiet intention to get to know yourself at a deeper level psychologically, or to go deeper into a top scorpionic topic, which would be sexuality or magic or the occult, psychic phenomena, ghosts, any kind of thing that's like hidden. Although I wouldn't say the 12th house is ghosts. It's like, it could be like a desire to connect with spirit guides or something, right? Because the 12th house is like things we don't see unless we look. So yeah, going on now. I'll talk more about this at the end of how it all fits together. The second day of November is Mercury entering Sagittarius in your first house. So maybe on November 1st, you are talking more. When Mercury goes into your first house, you sort of act like Mercury, which means you might be selling, you might be talking more, you might be sharing things with people, telling people about yourself or telling stories, right? Sagittarius is great at storytelling or talking about a time you lived in another country or some adventure you went on, Sagittarius. You might be writing emails. You might be just busy talking, speaking, thinking, learning, doing any Mercury type thing, writing. Since Mercury rules your 10th house, maybe on the 2nd of November, you're writing about your work or you're recording something related to your work, or you are writing at work, you're just talking at work, you're speaking at work, or maybe you're speaking about something work related. Maybe you're talking shop with people. For those Sagittariuses who have your own business, maybe you are like thinking about your marketing, right? Because Mercury is the salesperson of the zodiac. Mercury rules commerce and coinage and like money and just sales and all of that stuff. So some Sagittarius might be in that side of Mercury, but Mercury also rules all of the spiritual and astrological knowledge too. So some of you might just be talking about astrology or talking about magic or talking about manifesting or any other kind of spiritual or occult, even though I don't think manifesting is really an occult topic, but that's another rant for another day. So yeah, some of you might just be doing Mercury stuff during this time. Sometimes though, when Mercury goes through your first house, it also will make you busier because Mercury is a busy sign. Mercury's like, does something for 5 minutes, it gets bored. Even the story of Hermes is like, he was born and then 2 days later he felt restless. And I remember reading this and being like, oh my God, I feel seen. But that's what Mercury will do. It'll make you be multitasking or be handling a bunch of things at once. Okay, so that could be fielding calls on a, call line, talking on the phone, emailing, writing, any kind of Mercury type thing. Also, that includes shipping and receiving, delivering packages, picking them up, going to the post office, all that stuff. Moving on to the 4th, where Mars enters Leo. Mars is going to be in your 9th house of beliefs. So sometimes when Mars is in the 9th house, you are a little more preachy than you already can be, Sagittarius, right? So it's like maybe you need to defend your beliefs at this time. Maybe somebody is coming after you for something you believe. Maybe someone is accusing you of being wrong, and you have to be like, no, I believe this, da 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 da. Using force to defend belief, being more forceful to defend the law, using force or action, or being a little bit more aggressive than you normally have to be to defend your 9th house of beliefs, the law, your books, your library, your education, anything like that. Now, this could be something much smaller, right? It could be a day-to-day thing, like you're taking a class and there's a fight between the students and they don't get along, right? So don't think this has to be, it totally depends. But because Mars rules your 5th house of self-expression, Sag, I'm feeling like on the 4th, you might be more expressive or bold in how you express your beliefs. And I would say watch out for that. Watch out that you're not biting off more than you can chew when it comes to that. Now also on the 4th, I would watch for any changes related to your self-employment, related to your kids, related to if you're selling books or making courses or taking a course or reading books. I would watch for anything significant. Maybe you buy a new book that becomes significant later, or you buying a book, or you're taking a course, or you're learning something that later you're going to go back through next month when Mars goes retrograde. It doesn't have to be bad. It could be like you're in a course and there's something you're studying, and then next month you go back and want to really learn it. So I don't mean watch for anything bad, but I do think like this topic will probably come back again. Okay, on the 11th, Venus enters your 2nd house of money, so I like this for you. This is a money transit. Now, not all Sagittarius are going to get rich. It kind of depends on a bunch of other stuff in your chart, but Venus entering that 2nd house is a time you could get a bonus, you could get paid and you just really needed the money, or you can enjoy your money more, or you can enjoy your things more. You could buy something that you just makes you feel good. You could buy something that you buy just for the purpose of pleasure. And that's not good or bad. But because Venus rules your 11th house, Sagittarius, there's more likely this would be like free money or easy money, like you win a scratch ticket or you get a bonus at work or something that's like just kind of shows up more easily in your experience. And then maybe that's what is the pleasureful thing. Or maybe you're enjoying your stuff. Like you buy something that you just love having or wearing or using. Okay. On the 15th, that full moon in Taurus is in your 6th house. So to have a new moon in Scorpio and a full moon in the 6th house makes me feel like the 15th for Sagittarius may be a bit of a culmination, a high point, a busy point, an important climax in the cycle of your work and how you're spending your time. So it almost feels as if on the 15th, maybe you're really busy, you have a lot of work, you have a lot of clients, you have a lot to do, or you have a lot of chores to do. But at the same time, that new moon in Scorpio in the 12th house is like new beginnings in the unseen dimension of your life. And when I say it like that, it sounds so cool. But it could be not cool. It depends. Okay? It depends on what is happening in that unseen dimension. Worst case scenario, sometimes 12th house stuff is like when you have to go to the doctor, you have to take time out and you can't work, right? So, but to me, this doesn't feel that way. It feels like maybe on the 15th, you realize you're working too much, or maybe you have a lot of work to do and you have just a boon of busy work and things you have to take care of and problems you have to solve. But that new moon in Scorpio on the 1st might also bring a slow culmination, a slow beginning to building up more of a spiritual practice or a psychic practice or a practice of calling on guardian angels or any kind of way you could spend your time in isolation. So on the 1st, I don't think like you're going to jail or anything. But maybe one of you did. I don't know what you guys are doing. So, but the full moon, it just gives me this feeling of like a desire or a focus or a new opening up, planting a seed of new possibilities when it comes to your quiet time or your solitude or your times that you isolate, like meditation practice or like other practices that are done in a solitary way, other activities that you do by yourself. It's almost like there's a big push of like your day-to-day schedule will be full. Your need to deal with stuff will be full mid-month. But then maybe that sort of, after that, it winds down and there's like a growth of the quiet time, or a growth of the meditation, or a growth of like maybe whatever you were doing on the first becomes bigger. And like, so I'm just feeling like someone who just learned Reiki, right? Or someone who just figured out how to go to the Akashic records, or something else that's like, from the outside looking in, people could call it imaginary, but it's really a connection that you just have to look hard to be able to see. And then like that ability, that practice, that thing grows and becomes stronger, and that invisible force in your life becomes stronger and better and easier to use, wield, control, whatever. Okay, so I see this as positive for Sagittarius who are trying to increase their spiritual power, their psychic power, their manifesting, anything like that. On the 19th, Pluto enters the third house of Aquarius, which might make you want to be more authentic in the things that you're studying. And if that's the case, think about, how the last couple years, because Pluto has been going in and out of Aquarius for a couple years, bringing you to that more authentic place of like what you want to study, know, or where you want to live, even your neighborhood. So if you don't want to live where you are, you might find that once after the 19th, you become more aware of that pain. You become more aware of, it might not even change. You just might be more aware of what, more aware of what was I going to say? Pluto in the third, what you really want to know, deep down, and what you want to spend. It doesn't mean you have to like go be a professor for the next 20 years, but what do you want to spend the 20 years of your life learning? You might become aware of that too. And what's authentic? It doesn't necessarily mean you'll have massive changes on the 19th, but you might be like, oh my God, yes, you might find something you're studying that you just like, oh my God, I have to have every book by this author. Or it could be something you're reading or writing, or you learn how to write a new kind of copy if you're a copywriter, and then now that's what you want to do. Or you tell a new kind of joke if you're a comedian, and now you want to learn all about that kind of comedy or something. So going on to the 21st, the sun enters the Sagittarius. That's your first house. Happy upcoming birthday. And that first house sun is like, kind of puts the spotlight on you, but the sun rules your ninth house. So it's like spiritual topics going into your identity, a new or an ongoing or pre-existing spiritual belief. If you become more connected to being that person. So maybe you've been studying a thing, and this month you're like, now I am that, now I am a, I don't know what you could be, now I'm a chemist, or now I'm a philosopher, because I'm there, it's like infusing whatever you've been studying or working toward on a spiritual level into your identity. So now I'm a Buddhist, I become the Buddhist, right? Like I've done the ceremony, or whatever it is. Like you might feel like you more are a real one, like I'm reminded of when my YouTube channel got to 10,000 subscribers. For some reason, that was the moment where I was like, I'm a real YouTuber now. I was doing it for years before, but suddenly it felt like it was a part of my identity. And up until that point, it was like, oh, I have this job and then I have a YouTube channel, So maybe there's something like that for Sagittarius on the 21st, where some kind of ninth house topic, like a book or a philosophy, a belief system, another country, another language, foreign stuff, whatever, becomes a part of the identity, or shines a light on you. A foreigner shines a light on you, or you get some kind of attention for your ninth house activities, most likely. Then on the 26th, Mercury will go retrograde in Sagittarius. This will be a strong one for you because it's your first house. Now, Mercury also rules the 7th and the 10th, making it also very strong for you because it rules angular houses. So probably a rebrand, thinking about how you want to change your identity going forward. And that can be your job. It can be your brand name. It can be who you're with. And it doesn't have to be like I'm changing my whole life right now. But whatever happened on the 21st when the sun came into the first house, maybe it's helping you set your sights or identify new goals on what you want to accomplish in the next however long in your life. And then when Mercury goes retrograde, it's like, okay, if we want to have these new goals, what are we going to need to change to achieve them? And that could go any which way because it's your first house of you and your next steps. And probably your next adventure, Sagittarius. So that's really what I have for you guys. Lots of spiritual, quiet things becoming louder in your life, becoming more of the significant thing. Lots of focus on your beliefs, maybe some good money around the 11th. And just, I think, probably a pretty good month in store for Sagittarius. Going on now to Capricorns. Let me drink a drink of water and check the comments too. Cora is trying not to spend. Oh, Chihiro, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so, all right, going on to our Capricorns. For Capricorn for November, we're starting off the month with a new moon in Scorpio in your 11th house. So it might be a time to set intentions and plant seeds for meeting new people, connecting with your tribe, especially if you felt like you want to find new people you belong with, or just like have more fun, or go out in the world and connect with people more. You might find that during the first, there's and the thing is, the new moon isn't usually the time where it's busy. It's usually a quiet moment. So a quiet moment of not being social, a quiet moment of other people and connections on your mind, but not necessarily doing things, acting out that desire, that connection, or that focus. Also, the moon always has like a reflective quality, but when it's new, it's dark. So there's a dark moon in the 11th house. So that means there's no light, it's like the quietest time of your friendships, your community. And so maybe it's a time where the community is not meeting that day when normally they would, but it could also be more about what you want out of community going forward. On the 2nd, Mercury enters your 12th house of Sagittarius. So again, more focus on internal matters here, more focus on prayer, meditation, on taking time off from work. Maybe you have these days off work of non-action. How are you non-acting during this time? It would be worth it to focus on this because Mercury will go retrograde here. So like what's happening on the 2nd? What are you focusing on? It will put focus on the 12th house, right? It will put some activity on that 12th house of recovery, like getting sober or something, or mental health, or your spirit guides, or figuring out your own psychological reasons for things. That could all be coming up. And then on the 4th, Mars enters Leo in your 8th house, also very psychological house. So that's going to put focus on either other people's money and you spending it probably, or you having to worst case scenario, Capricorn, if you're in a bunch of debt, this might be a time where you get like a garnish from your wages or something, worst case scenario. Or someone tries to sue you, or someone tries to get more child support or something, if you have issues like that going on. If you don't, then you might actually be motivated to focus on paying off debt. You might be motivated to focus on becoming more independent financially. Or if you're already financially fully independent, you might want to focus on other people's money and in the form of investing and getting interest and retirement and stuff. Okay, so then I would also pay attention to what's happening on the 4th. Any huge big things, we're going to see they're not going to go away anytime soon. So whatever is happening is going to be like the setup for the next few months. On the 11th, Venus enters Capricorn. That's your first house. Good time for headshots when Venus hits your ascendant. If you're someone who wants to do those, you might be looking your best. Usually you are looking your best. You're getting your hair cut. You're doing something to make yourself look better, or you just look your best during the time Venus is in the first house. Someone could give you something. Sometimes people give you gifts when Venus goes through your first house. That's nice. And because Venus rules your fifth house of fun and it's in your first house, you may find that you're focusing on doing something that just doing things for pleasure. Like the topic of pleasure is coming up here. But Venus also rules your 10th house of work. So for some Capricorns, it's like you'll have to be the face of your company for something. Like the company has an event, you have to sit at the table and be the one everyone talks to, something like that. But overall, Venus going through that first house is going to bring ease, going to bring something nice to you or your life during this time. It's like with the first house, sometimes it's your body, sometimes it's your life, sometimes it's like, it's just good. It's a good transit. Okay, going on to the 15th, we have the full moon in Taurus in your fifth house of self-expression, self-employment, kids, fun, pleasure, and that new moon in Scorpio was in the 11th house. I like having the lunations in the best houses, right? The fifth house is the fun house. I would expect something fun or something that gives you pleasure on the 15th. Okay, so hold on. Okay, anyway, full moon in Taurus on the 15th for Capricorns, a culmination, filling of the cup related to pleasure. If you're a Capricorn who's dating, this might be a time to date because the fifth house rules sex. So like some Capricorns could just be like getting some or getting a lot during this time. Others could be doing other things that are not even sexual at all. Like you're spending more time with your kids, or you're playing games you like to play with your friends, or you're whatever you would say you do for fun. That might be filling your life, filling your cup. It's as full as it's going to be. So like if you like playing games, maybe there's a tournament on the 15th or something else like that, where that topic is at its peak, at its biggest, at its most abundant before it winds down again. So even if you love reading books, maybe you're on the 15th, you're just reading the best book ever, So tailor this to what you like to do, what kind of things you like to enjoy, and it'll make more sense. But either way, even though that fifth house is at its peak, that 11th house is planting new seeds to grow. So it does feel like there's a lot of potential for Capricorns to enjoy themselves this month. Now on the 19th, Pluto is going to enter Aquarius in your second house. And what this is going to do over the next 20 years is it's going to make you more aware of ways you are not authentic when it comes to your finances. And that could be making it or spending it, or what you have or what you own. Do you own a bunch of stuff that's like from your last lifetime practically, that's like from an old phase of life that you're like, you don't even feel like that person anymore? Do you work at a job that you had before your spiritual awakening and now you're like, this isn't even me anymore, but maybe you haven't figured out what the next thing is? Pluto will make you more and more aware of these types of things. Pluto will make you more aware of what your most authentic path is when it comes to your money, how you make your money, what you have, and what you own. Do you want to be a minimalist? If you do and you're not being a minimalist, Pluto's going to show you that you're not living in alignment with those values. But keep in mind, it's a 20-year transit. It's not probably going to, and you might realize things on the 19th, but don't get all scared. Don't get all scared. On the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius. That's your 12th house of isolation, self-undoing. We already have Mercury here. So you might be saying more prayers. You might be meditating more. You might be focusing more on like, let's say you're a Capricorn and you go to a 12-step program regularly. Maybe you'll get more attention within that private place. So if you do something 12th housey on a regular basis, if you meditate at a temple regularly, or you go to a 12-step program, or you have like a mental health support group that you go to or run or something, then maybe you'll get more attention. If you're a social worker, maybe you'll get more attention. The spotlight will be on you more related to those activities during this time. If none of that connects, maybe you are putting the spotlight on your own psychology and like doing more therapy or doing a little bit of just anything you'd want to do to get to the root cause of psychological challenges, especially because the sun rules your 8th house. So this might also be for some Capricorns, if other people's money is a thing, you might be focusing on that. You might be focusing, like, let's say you're a Capricorn who just got an inheritance, okay? If that's you, well, then this is you focusing on how to spend the money and kind of maybe having some fear around like not spending it right. For everyone else, which is most of you, it's just the spotlight being put on your fears, your phobias, your dependencies, your things you shouldn't be doing, your bad habits, stuff like that. And then on the 26th, Mercury goes retrograde in that 12th house. So to figure out what really happens, you need to see what happened on the 2nd when Mercury entered that 12th house. But in general, like, it's just going to be going back and redoing something related to probably 12th house topics, but maybe even 6th house or 9th house. So it feels a lot like, how are you being of service, Capricorn? How are you going, like, what are you doing privately to connect to your spirit or that you believe in? What are you doing in secret or that other people don't know about or in a 12-step program that is like, needs to change? Are you like in a 12-step program and you're sponsoring too many people and you have to let some of them go, or like, are you doing all the service work and you don't have time and you have to cut down a commitment? Are you, or are you going back over prayers you made in the past and seeing which of them were granted, or something a little more occult like that? Are you going back over Akashic record readings you did in the past and seeing like which ones got results for people, or something like that? Something kind of cool and secret going on. Overall, I think there's a lot of potential for Capricorns to enjoy themselves this month. It does feel like that's where the energy is heading. And so a month of pleasure and really discovering more pleasure, or having your, what you're creating, maybe creation, maybe creativity as well. Okay, going on now to our Aquariuses. Comment below if you're an Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. I'm going to check the comments. Oh yeah, Chihiro, this always feels like a time of year when the new year starts to begin. Interesting. Sometimes it might have to do with the planet you have, and maybe it is. Really resonating. Cool. Thank you. Oh, it's showing your picture or something. Ooh, that's new. Is that your like profile picture? Did it used to do that? Look, I want to see this one. Well, this one's mine. Yeah. It shows them now. I think that's new. Okay. I'm positive that's new. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Now I see it. Yeah, okay. It did, but smaller before. Maybe it was a circle before, and now it's a square. Okay. You're right. I think it was smaller before. Someone's 2 degrees of Aquarius. All right, let's go. Let's go, Aquarius. And Pisces, don't give up on me. We're getting to you soon. All right. Let me make sure. Yep. Aquarius, November 1st, new moon in Scorpio in the 10th house. What seeds are you planting when it comes to career, your work, your reputation? How do you want to go deeper on something maybe you already know? How do you want to specialize? These are things that might be coming up on the 1st, but remember, during the moon is dark. So it's more likely that your 10th house of work will not be as busy. It might be quieter. It might be slower. It might be a time where you're more quiet and more slow about it, and you're more contemplative about it. On the 2nd, Mercury enters the 11th house of Sagittarius. So it's all about, what are your hopes and dreams? Who are you with? Who are you talking to? This is a social time for Aquarius of having lots of conversations with different people. Because Mercury rules the 5th house, for those of you who do creative things like art or something else like this, who would potentially be putting that out into the public, from the 2nd of November, this could be a topic of discussion or a topic of importance. Is the creativity being shared with others? Do I want to, am I ready to launch something? And it's really possible that you could be launching something or putting something out there, or talking about putting something out there, or making a plan to release something. The 5th house to the 11th is like what we've created, what we've made, what we've done, what we're doing. And then the 11th house is it becoming more public. So if you're not in a phase where that is what's going on, then this part isn't for you. But if you are, I would pay attention to what you are trying to release, or what you are publishing, or what you are planning to kind of put out there on the 2nd, because there might be a focus of you'll likely be going back and going over that on the 26th when Mercury goes retrograde. So on the 4th, moving on, regardless though, for everyone, Mercury in the 11th makes you more social, makes you more busy, makes you more having conversations with other people, gives more of a back and forth energy around that 11th house of community. So it's almost like going back and forth from this group to this group to this group. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. They might all be things you want to do. So going on to the 4th of November, Mars enters Leo. That's your 7th house. So Mars in the 7th house, if you're an Aquarius who's in a relationship, sometimes you bicker with your partner more, or you guys get in more fights, or it's just more challenging, or they're confronting you more, or you're confronting them, or you're bitching at them, or they're bitching at you. So if that's what's happening, I'm sorry, because Mars is going to retrograde, and it's not going to just go away like normal. So that's great. But for those of you, now let's talk about how this could show up and maybe be less negative. Well, maybe you and your partner are initiating some kind of new project together. Maybe your partner, this is like if you're married, right? Your husband or wife might be starting something in their life, starting something with what they're doing that is giving them more attention. Your husband or wife could be a bodybuilder who is doing a competition, right? Or they could be an athlete who is like being seen, or they're being seen for their Martian qualities, even though maybe they are like a data analyst, or they do something totally else. Sometimes the planets in the 7th describe your partner and what's happening to your partner or with your partner. Okay, and sometimes the 7th house ruler will do the same. So basically, if your partner is like doing martial stuff, like fighting in a way that maybe is like supposed to happen, they're arguing with someone, they're an attorney, they're defending their client, maybe they're a police officer, or maybe they are dealing with something that makes them be more active or gets attention for the action they're taking, it's probably not going to be you. It's probably going to be them this whole time. But if they're fighting with you, if you guys are fighting, then it's going to be that. But let's say you're single, and on the 4th, Mars enters Leo of the 7th house. This could be your best friends you're arguing with. It could be your best friends that you just have a conflict with. It might not be the end of the world. It could be you initiating or getting antsy about wanting to be in a relationship, and you're like, I want to not be single anymore, and you're just getting more worked up about that in a good way. Maybe you're feeling the passion for trying to find another partner again. And it could be, if you're in a relationship, you two coming together to fight for a cause. Okay, going on to the 11th, when Venus enters Capricorn for Aquarius, this is your 12th house. And the 12th house is Well, Venus in the 12th is like one of the positive things can be bed pleasures, okay? Because the 12th house is private, Venus is pleasure, okay? So some of you might just have more pleasure in private, but it could also be other things that aren't sexual. Like you could have, because Venus rules your 4th house and 9th house, these are houses that are very much about how you feel and what you believe. And it goes into the 12th house that's private. So enjoying what you feel or what you believe privately, enjoying reading Freud, you know what I mean? Enjoying learning about psychology, enjoying learning about your own psyche, enjoying learning about how you self-sabotage. So if you're an Aquarius who wants to get into shadow work, or like wants to figure out how to stop a cycle that's been happening that's unpleasant, this would actually be a time where Venus might help make the process more enjoyable, okay? So if you want to look at yourself, Venus in the 12th house will make you enjoy it more. If you want to consider your family dynamics and stuff like that, then you'll want to enjoy that more. And then on the 15th, the full moon in Taurus, in your 4th house can illuminate matters of home, family, or your emotional foundation. So it's when your home is like the most full. Okay, you might have a full house. You might have people come over and your house is literally full. You might have your life, when it comes to topics of home, be really busy related to those topics. You might be like cleaning a bunch of rooms in your house and washing all the sheets and doing all the laundry. You might be at home, just chilling at home, listening to your favorite podcast, enjoying what you like to enjoy. You might be doing other things that are more family related and just taking care of family matters or taking care of the home or just dealing with those topics. I'm so thirsty. And, you know, there's also, okay, so because the new moon's in Scorpio, the full moon's in Taurus, this means this is a month for Aquarius of like planting seeds with your professional life that maybe aren't like you're gonna water, you're gonna grow in the next period of time. But then the 10th house the 4th house culmination, it's like work-life balance is gonna be the theme of maybe work is quieter or is like less important right now, and family or home are the most important. Maybe what you're doing after work that you want to focus on is way more important right now than work. Or for some who work from home, maybe it's all of that. On the 19th, Pluto is going to enter your 1st house. Please don't be scared. Pluto, if you're worried about Pluto being in your 1st house, really the time to worry about is when it hits your ascendant. Not 5 years of that, but like by degree, you know, when it's like 1 degree away from your ascendant. Some of you, if you like, this is a 20-year transit. So some of you that's in 20 years or 15 years. So please don't worry about this one and think it's going to be horrible. Pluto going through your 1st house will make you realize slowly over the next 20 years what areas of your life are not as authentic and how you want to be more authentic. And if you are living a life that you don't want to be living, and your job is not when you want, your partner is not the right partner for you, or there are other things in life that are so misaligned, when Pluto goes through your 1st house, you will become increasingly more aware of the pain that is causing you until you change it. Sorry if that feels like a threat, but that is what Pluto does. Pluto forces you to see you can't lie to yourself anymore. Now, if you have not been lying to yourself, this is not going to be such a big deal. But if you have been telling yourself this job is fine when you actually hate it, Pluto is going to be like, we're not doing this anymore. You're going to see how much you hate it. And the job might not change. Your feeling about it might. Okay, so going on to the 21st, Pluto in Aquarius is 20 years. Maybe we'll do another video on that. If you want one, just comment below Pluto in Aquarius. On the 21st, the sun enters Sag. That's your 11th house of fun. So the sun goes in, not fun, community, friends. It is one of the good houses. The sun going into the 11th house is like putting a spotlight on your friends, your community, how you're showing up in community. So that could be at some point during this month transit, basically, someone in your friend circle or your community puts a spotlight on you when you're with people, or your life is just more focused on who you're with. Now, during this time of year, that's not uncommon, but it's going to be different for each Aquarius, where it's like, where it's like, whatever community you have, the sun's going to show you that. So is your community helping you, serving you? Are you serving it? Is it a symbiotic, good, positive, flowing relationship? Or are there more conflicts? If there's more conflicts, the sun going here might make you aware. Like if you're like a regular Aquarius and you feel like you don't fit in, the sun might make you feel more aware of how you don't fit in. But if you feel like you don't fit in and you're happy about it, then you might be like, yeah, it's more of a focus. Okay, it's more of a focus. So I think that's probably fine. But the good thing about the sun in the 11th house is it really can support you in figuring out your hopes and dreams, right? Because the 11th house is like our hopes and our dreams, our aspirations, our ambitions, the things we want. And the sun is the planet that really helps you see that. So illuminating your hopes and dreams might help you get clarity on them. If you want clarity on your path ahead, your hopes and dreams, what you want to accomplish, the sun might just bring energy to that every year during this time. But this time we have Mercury going retrograde right after that on the 26th. So it's almost as if you get some clarity or some focus or some realization, some light is shining on your community, on your hopes and dreams, on what you want to achieve, on what you want to accomplish. And then on the 26th, perhaps there's a feeling like, okay, well, if I want to set this new goal, if I want to have this new dream, or if I want to focus on this old goal or this old dream, if I'm at this stage and this is the next thing I want to reach, with Sagittarius being the archer, it's going to be really easy to focus on that far off dream and that what you want, that inspirational possibility, right? And then Mercury going retrograde is like, well, wait, what would we need to do to make this a reality? What would need to change? And so it might be you on the 21st setting your sights on something new and like committing to it. But it might be you just pondering some new focus you have. And then, just thinking about doing it. And then on the 26th, there is a feeling like we're going back to what was happening on the 2nd, related to community or hopes and dreams. Maybe you are in a group setting where you're like going through and figuring out which person, like maybe you're a manager and you're like figuring out which person could do best at which job. There's this energy with Mercury of like taking apart the pieces of a thing to analyze it. And like in Sagittarius, it's about coordinating and like putting it all together and getting it to work right and getting the whole, getting all the employees to be their little thing to coordinate them together so that they're working properly. Or maybe you're not working with employees. Maybe you're working with your own time management skills or your own self, and you're like getting all the parts of yourself to try to coordinate and work properly within a group structure or something. So I see that potential to like do something with that happening at that time. And so like maybe the need to even go back and redo a plan that related to your community, your group you're working within, the groups that you're a part of, that just may or may not be working, right? So it's about like trying to get the parts of a group to work together, kind of a thing. And apply that to what works for you. If you do work in tech or you do code, maybe it's getting the parts of the code to work together, so it might not be people. And going on to last but definitely our not least sign, we're on Pisces. If you're Pisces, then my moon sign is the same as you, but you can watch this for your sun, moon, or rising. So for Pisces for November 2024, we have the new moon in Scorpio let me start over. November 1st, new moon in Scorpio in your 9th house of beliefs, spirituality, travel. So you might get some ideas for travel. You might really be planting new seeds for the next layer and the next stage of your journey when it comes to spirit and spirituality. On the following day, now for some of you, this could be a different 9th house topic, like higher education, if you're thinking about going to school, if you are a teacher, if you're an author, it's going to be those things. But just remember, it's whatever 9th house thing relates to your life. So it's going to depend on you. Okay, on the 2nd, Mercury enters your 10th house of Sagittarius, bringing more focus on your marketing, speaking, being busier, talking, communicating, sending emails, focusing on your brand, your professional image, or if you're at work, doing more Mercury type stuff at work, which is like multitasking, being busier, being on the phone, writing an email, writing stuff down, just doing Mercury stuff for your career. I don't see anything wrong here. I do think you'll want to pay attention to what's happening here because that might come back. That's probably going to come back at the end of the month. When Mercury goes retrograde, whatever projects you're working on the 2nd, you may go back, redo, reassess, or something like that. On the 4th, Mars enters Leo. That's your 6th house. The 6th house can be health, but it can also just be like what you have to do to solve problems. And because Mars rules your 2nd house and your 9th house, it could be a few things, but the biggest possibility here for the 4th of November for Pisces is going to be you taking something spiritual and bringing it into your daily life and like doing it repeatedly, or you spending money on stuff, you paying for things. Maybe there is something you got to pay for on the 2nd. Maybe it is something you know about that you know it's like your car insurance is due or your tabs are due or something. It's like a payment. Maybe that is a required thing that doesn't like give you love and success and everything. It's just something you got to do, right? It's like your property tax or something. Or with the 2nd house ruler in the 6th, it can also be you working for money or trying to get like paying an employee or thinking about a plan to have employees if you don't have employees, or investing into something that maybe it's a bigger investment now, but down the road you think it will save you money or make you money in the future. It doesn't mean you'll make money right then, though. It feels more like something that wouldn't be. That's not advice. It's just saying what I think could be happening. On the 11th, Venus enters Capricorn. This is your 11th house. This is your friends, your groups, your community that you're in. So this is a time to enjoy your friends, to enjoy community. If you've been an isolated Pisces and you're like, when should I go meet people? This is when. The 11th. Now, this could be you just getting dressed up and going somewhere, going to a thing, whether it is with others or not. But it could also be like an event that you want to get dressed up for, or it can be just a time where when you're out with people, you're more likely to have a positive experience because Venus makes it better. So you could be going out to a concert you want to enjoy, or going out to something where you want to meet people or something. If you're not planning on doing that, I would highly encourage you, Pisces, to try to be social around the 11th and after, because the potential of that going well is just higher. On the 15th, that full moon in Taurus is going to bring a culmination to your 3rd house. So that means your topics of like writing or speaking or communicating or reading or courses or studying are going to be at their height. While at the same time, that 9th house seed is being planted. So it feels like that 3rd house being full kind of feels like being really busy, having a lot of stuff to do. Actually, you know what I'm feeling more for Pisces is that on the 15th, you might have more everyday things to deal with, because the 3rd versus the 9th is like matter versus spirit, right? It's like the 3rd house is like our local environment, the stuff right in front of us, the real tangible parts of life. And then that 9th house is like God and spirit and things that are way out there. Okay, so if you have a culmination of things that are in here, it's It's like, your kid having soccer tournament and like needing to go to it all the time. Or like having something in your local community you need to go show up at, like showing up in life. And maybe you need to dress up for this, Venus in the 11th, but it's like you showing up to events, you doing stuff with people and talking to people and getting into mundane everyday reality, and it being something that is very focused on and has a lot of energy or activity to it. On the 19th, Pluto enters Aquarius. That's your 12th house. And you've already had a little bit of a dance with this energy of Pluto coming into that 12th house, really bringing a need for authenticity in your 12th house of like isolation, meditation, spirit guides. So if you have been wanting more of a deeper connection with yourself psychologically, or to understand your shadow work, or to like get deep into occult matters and stuff, Pluto in Aquarius is great for that for you. I think this will be kind of fun, actually. I know there's potential problems with Pluto, but Pluto will also unbury things, okay? Pluto will unearth things. And while some things in the 12th house we would like to stay hidden forever and they don't really need to see the light of day, some of the 12th house things you might want to unbury are like spiritual stuff and occult stuff and like occult philosophy, and learning like just the deeper, more secretive layers of those things that most people don't know about. On the 21st, the sun will enter your 10th house, putting some focus on your role in life, your image, your public image, your whatever you do. So whatever you do, you're going to be focusing on that. So for some, it's like your work is busy this time of year or something. But for others, it's like you might be recognized at work. You might be seen as what you are doing. You might get more publicity. You might have more eyes on you. The potential of having more eyes on you is high when the sun is in your 10th house, because it's illuminating your public image. When the sun illuminates your public image, it's like you're being seen more. If you have social media, your socials are being seen more by more people. If you are, if you're at a job, maybe more people see whether you're doing that job or not, whether you're doing well or not is going to be more highlighted at this time. So then on the 26th, Mercury is going to go retrograde in Sagittarius. So Mercury in that 10th house is going, wait, we need to redo something. So it's possible for Pisces that on the 21st of November, you're realizing a new level of what you want to achieve in your professional life. If you're not clear on what your goals are in life, or what you want to be when you grow up, or what you want to do, and you have Pisces Sun, Moon, or Rising, I would say that on the 21st of November, this is a good time to contemplate this, because the sun's going to bring focus on it anyway. So if you're focusing on it, you might as well use that focus to your advantage. And the sun is the planet that we're going to look to when you want to reach goals, like what the goal is, when you want to define the goal of who you want to be. And the sun in the 10th is like, who do you want to be in your career? Who do you want to be in your reputation? Who do you, when you die? You know what I mean? Someday, hopefully far, far in the future, what do you want people to say about you? How do you want people to say that you affected their life? That, my friends, is what you can focus on the 21st to get the most out of this transit. And then on the 26th, we have Mercury going retrograde, saying, wait, how are we going to do this? How are we going to achieve this next goal in our career, in our work, in our public image, in our professional accomplishments? How are we going to do this? And we're going to be able to go back and go, well, that plan that we started on the 2nd of November, this is what worked and this is what didn't work. And here's the analytics and here's the data and and this could be anything, right? If you're at a job and maybe you tried to ask for a raise on the 2nd and now you're getting a no, for example. Well, then now you're going to go, okay, let me revise my plan. Maybe the plan is to get another job now, or something like that. So thinking of what conversations were happening on the 2nd of November, and then what you realized on the 21st about what you want to accomplish next. And then what happens on the 26th is, okay, how? how are we on track for our goals, and probably how are we not on track for this goal? What pieces of what we've been doing up until now are moving us forward and moving that needle forward, and what pieces are not? Because Mercury likes to take things apart and analyze them and see how the little things are affecting the big whole. And Mercury in Sagittarius is almost as if, let's say you're a Pisces with a business. It's almost like auditing every single aspect of that business for like what's getting clients and what isn't, or what's selling the product and what isn't. And then after Mercury goes direct would be the time where you're ready to go, okay, now we have a plan. Now we have a plan. And for next month's forecast, I'm reminding myself now to make sure to remember to tell you guys, whenever Mercury goes retrograde, there's a day where something gets illuminated, and that's when Mercury conjuncts the sun during the retrograde. So this is something everyone should know. Everyone should know this, because you can really put things together so much better and go forward with so much more insight. So this day, the 26th, is not the day you're getting clarity on the problem. It's the day you realize there is a problem and there is a need to go back and go over something and see, it might be redoing the spreadsheet at work and that's it. And then maybe when Mercury conjuncts the sun, this is the day you realize what you did to mess up the spreadsheet, that kind of thing. So that is what I have for November. You can book a reading with me. You can book a video with me. Check out the comment below for that. And I will see you beautiful souls in the next video. Bye, guys.